Hey everybody, welcome back to another Contenders overview. Now, I considered not doing this, to be honest with you, because, well, it's the 5th of December as I'm recording this, and I'm hoping to try and put this up tonight. It might come out in the early hours in the morning, so it might be the 6th for you. Overwatch is going to have a big patch on the 6th. It's going to introduce a new tank hero, and probably going to drastically alter the meta. I've heard ruminations over some of the nerfs, like there's been leaks that Sojourn's going to get nerfed, Kuriko's going to get nerfed, and they're kind of the linchpin of the main comp right now. But I was like, nah, let's do it. Let's kind of run it back as a... Run it back, get it? Run it back, we'll take it to the final match, and we'll just show it off. So if you don't want any spoilers of how the Korean Contenders Finals goes, then turn away now, because you're going to get spoilers. And you're going to get an immediate spoiler, because I'm going to tell you the result. So, O2 Blast win this series, and they win it comfortably. I mentioned when we did SPG versus... who are they playing against? I've forgotten the name now. They were playing against the 3rd seed team. It has, like, Protect on it. The name's just gone for me now. It'll come back later. But they played each other, and it was quite a tight match. Now, I did mention that there was a team at the rank 1, and it was O2 Blast, who were so much more stronger than any of the other teams. It was kind of crazy. So they went through the entire league season, which I think revolved around like 7 or 8 games. They dropped one map in the last week when they'd already qualified. Then through the knockout stages, they didn't drop a map. So literally at this point, they've dropped one map, the entire series. SPG have lost, I think, 2 games coming into this, including against O2 Blast, obviously. And O2 Blast are the massive favourites. There are 4 players from this O2 Blast team I would expect to see next season in OWL. Probe, Heesang, Bliss, and Babel will probably all be picked up. O2 Blast is the subsidiary feeder team of the San Francisco Shock, who are a very, winningest team in OWL. It's between them, Shanghai. But let's not talk about the situation with what's happening with, the Asian teams right now. So Shock are going to be a strong team next season. Their Contenders team is pretty strong. Probe is disgusting on the Sojourn. Probably the best Sojourn in the region. Heesang is extremely flexible. He can play just about anything. Junbin would also be picked up, but he's too young. I can't remember if he's too young for the entirety of next season, or if it's he's eligible, but only when it's the very final, it's like when the finals would be, so no one's going to pick him up for one game. And Bliss and Babel will be picked up. Now, they have some people in this, the backup roster as well, who up-and-coming, promising new players, and we'll see some of those later. But this core squad of O2 Blast are probably as good as, an OWL team. They're crazy good. Also, O2 Blast are on a bit of a streak. They've won, I think 6 of the 7 last Contenders tournaments, so they are the hot favourites. And as I said, I've spoiled it already because they win, and they win pretty comfortably. We'll let this start playing through. SPG have some old names from, OWL. You may remember Sanguinar, you may remember Tuyu. Let me just pull the volume down a tiny little bit more. But yeah, so they have some experience. So this isn't a bad SPG team. It's just O2 Blast are insane. And when you get this situation, you normally don't want to mirror. Because if you mirror and O2 Blast are the best at this Sojourn, Kuriko type meta, or at least that backbone meta, then if you mirror, you're going to lose. So I think it's kind of interesting at the start. SPG do something immediately bold from the gates. Let me just get my pen up. They're not doing the normal Kuriko comp. So they predict that O2 Blast are coming out on this. This is kind of like your standard meta comp. You always run the Sojourn. You always have these 2 supports. The only flexibility comes in the tank, which we mentioned in the last episode, is a real rock, paper, scissors thing where you'll run Winston. To counter the Winston, you'll play Hog. To counter the Hog, you'll run Sigma. And then to counter the Sigma, you'll normally play Winston again. That looks like a penis. I'm sorry. If someone runs an Anya into that, then you can also put a Diva into the mix. Some teams as well, T1, who I think come 3rd, if I remember rightly, also instead of running the Sigma into the Hog, tried running Orisa instead. And Orisa's in a really weird spot right now. I don't know if we see it in this series, but it's pretty good against Hog because you can kind of counter his hook pressure. And at the end of the day, that's how Hogs really create space. He just waddles around, gets sped by the Lucio, and looks for hooks. the Orisa can just keep man-marking the Hog and has Fortify, the twirling baton ability as well that can cancel it. The ult can't be interrupted by the Hook, so they're pretty safe. The reason I say it's a weird interaction is that Whole Hog is pretty good into Fortify though. It's one of the good counters for it, but it's not good into the twirling baton. So they all have like their positives and negatives. But basically Orisa can just bully Hog around and like just doesn't give Hog the freedom that they desire. But anyway, that's by the by. That's kind of what the tank meta is at the moment. So it's pretty flexible, honestly. The tanks right now, the balance before the new hero Ramattra comes in, honestly, big tick. I like it. I think Doom could use a little tweak, or like move his numbers around a little bit. I think Jungle Queen could do with that. Ryan maybe a little bit, but after that, I think everyone else is pretty viable in some form of variety. And the only reason really Hog is played at the moment is because Sojourn is so dominant. You see Sojourn in almost all games, and Hog can just live through it. He has to take a breather so he doesn't get one shot instantaneously by the Sojourn. So without Sojourn, I don't think Hog would be as strong. You'd probably see a lot more Winston, you'd see a lot more Stigma. Actually, if you see a lot of Winston, you probably won't see a lot of Sigma. You'd probably see Winston and Ritter, to tell you the truth. Except maybe a few sniper maps you would run the Sigma instead. But anyway. The only slot then that gets kind of like swapped around a little bit is this Reaper. So it's normally Reaper or Tracer is your other variety. And I'd say Contenders' career have got to the point now where they basically always run this Tracer. I know it's not quite the same. They run the Reaper into the Winston mirror. Because, you know, Reaper good into Winston. Winston wants to fight you close. Reaper can get close. He can blow up the barriers. He works really well with Kriko. I actually forgot to mention as well with Reaper in the last episode. One of the really powerful things with the combination with the Kriko ult, which Reaper does disgusting damage, is because the fade cooldown goes down. You can shoot your 8 shots with Reaper, or whatever it is, 8 or 10. I think it's 8. You can fade, cancel fade immediately, and when you fade, you reload immediately. And then the cooldown is so quick on it that you get the fade back up again. It's a bit greedy, but you can basically get an instant reload and just keep firing. So it's amazingly consistent DPS. But this entire comp, as we discussed last time, is basically because all of them work really well with Kriko ult. It's extremely mobile, and it works well with Sojourn. I don't want to go back over the same things. Watch the previous episode if you want to like know more about this comp. However, I said SBG decide not to mirror this. They have gone on to... They still have the Sojourn Kriko. This is just the backbone right now. These two heroes are so strong right now. It's hard to not run them. Instead, though, they've gone with an Echo, a Wrecking Ball, and a Mercy. Now, you look at this comp, you look at the O2 Blast comp. This is kind of annoying for O2 Blast, because who does the Winston engage on? Like, they want to dive on someone. Reaper TP's in, can bubble dance with the Winston. Lucio can, you know, close the gap as well. Can even stay with the Sojourn as well. Just to speed Sojourn around so that they can get a little bit more value. The Kriko can always stay with the dive as well. It's very mobile, but you do look to hit one target, ideally one with, you know, lower mobility, and kill it. The other reason this comp is pretty good is it's kind of good into the Sojourn, because you can force a Sojourn to jump. And, sorry, not jump, but you know what I mean, slide and jump. And then you can dash back onto them again and, you know, put pressure on them when they have that disengage cooldown removed. But this comp, who does the Winston go on? Like, you go on to Kriko, they just TP. You go on to Mercy, well, they're going to be in the sky with the Echo. You can't go on Wrecking Ball, he's the most mobile hero in the game. And Sojourn, as I said, is really hard to get onto. Because they can just, you know, dash back, jump in the air, and you kind of just stood there, just looking like, you know, a little bit of a goober. So this is a kind of a bold comp. Now, the reverse side of things, why is this comp good into O2 Blast? Well, the Reaper can't really interact with anyone here. He's going to try and TP onto Sojourn, potentially, or try and put pressure on the... he's saying he's going to put pressure onto the Wrecking Ball. But Wrecking Ball is so mobile. It's not like Winston where, you know, you have this big mobility spike. Then you put your barrier down and you can just get melted inside the barrier. Wrecking Ball can slam in and just roll away. He just locomotes so quickly. And the really, really good Wrecking Balls will set up on like the high ground, they'll slam in and then save their grappling hook to get away. So Reaper can almost not get value into this comp. It's so hard for him to do anything. So you nullify Heesang immediately. Probe is going to do probe things. You're going to have to mark him with Ade. And this is kind of part of where like the SPG comp falls apart a little bit. Because if Probe can just free fire, then, you know, you're going to have problems. Still, Wrecking Ball can just continuously put pressure on this Sojourn, so it's not the end of the world, but you just need to put some, like, you know, marking pressure. Then Wrecking Ball, as I said, he can just stay alive indefinitely. He can just keep poking this comp down. And one thing this comp doesn't really have, it doesn't have, like, a huge burst heal. Like, you can amp the heals up on Lucio, but normally the Lucio is in speed. It's actually pretty rare that the Lucio, especially early on into a fight, will be healing, because you want to get the Kree ult as fast as possible. That's kind of the mainstay of this comp. Get a Kree ult as fast as possible, win the fight with it, because it's the best ult in the game. So you're probably not going to have the amp heal. Kiriko can do an invulnerability, but you basically have to disengage off it. So there's a lot of poke, a lot of burst in the SPG, and then just continue, like, just a Wrecking Ball chasing you around. Immediately O2 Blast sees this comp, and this is what I like about O2 Blast. They're like, fuck it. You can have like 10% or something, we'll give you the 10% or whatever it is. We're going back to spawn, we're making changes. Now, one thing I didn't mention about all of this is that Junbin is renowned for his Wrecking Ball. He might be the best Wrecking Ball in certainly Contender's career. So it's a pretty big challenge for Tuyu to say, like, listen, I'm going to be on the Wrecking Ball. What are you going to do about it? And Junbin's like, yes, I will take the mirror, please. Thank you very much. Heesang gets off the Reaper, he goes into the Tracer. This is, again, just continuous pressure. You can put pressure on the Mercy, you can chase the Mercy around the map. And this is what's going to happen now. Junbin and Heesang are going to hunt Sanguinar down and make it real uncomfortable for Sanguinar. So look at this poke. The Echo is just getting rolled. Again, the Sojourn is so dangerous when you're in the Echo. Just one charge shot to the head and you're just toasted. Top Dragon is just trying to force Probe down. The only thing that matters for Top Dragon is Probe gets killed, because when Probe's dead, Top Dragon can do whatever the fuck they want. So they're just trying to blow up Probe right now and just hunting them down. However, they're spending 2 resources to deal with Probe. And during this, Junbin somehow kills Lee Sumin. I don't think we can see it. Again, we don't have the replay viewer, sadly. But 2 resources, all on Probe. Probe is getting a bit of heals from Babel, but Babel's not just pure babysitting Probe. Babel's looking at the point. Lee Sumin is just dropped. I presume this is a combination of Heesang, Junbin, maybe even Babel gets a hit in. Let's see your health. It might be a headshot that just sets it off. Yeah, a huge chunk of damage comes in. I don't know if it was the headshot. We can't really see where they are. And they get taken down. And as soon as you've lost your Kiriko, that's your healing gone. The Mercy is very good at solo healing, not good at AoE team healing. They're also going to be trying to stay with the Echo, because, you know, if they don't, Top Dragon is just going to lose the 1v1 to Probe. It basically just falls apart as soon as you lose the Kiriko. O2 Blast have also done a really weird splitter potion. And by weird, I mean good. You can see it a little bit better off... Well, I might have gone past it a little bit too much now. Okay. I'm just going to stop it here. It's not ideal. I can't quite get the perfect perspective over it. But we saw down here that they have their Sojourn and their Kiriko. They're like a 2 unit. If anyone goes on Probe, Probe can slide away, jump up onto like the high ground or something. I'm not saying he's going to go up here, but, you know, he can escape. Kiriko can TP either to the rest of the team who are over here, or can follow the Sojourn if they need to. So they can get away together. This is very mobile. It's hard to, you know, lock down. And it's where most of the damage is. The rest of them, this 3 squad, have gone to the point and they're forcing fights on the point. As I said, Top Dragon and Sanguinar, they're focusing on just trying to kill Probe right now. Babel is keeping Probe up, but Babel as well has a ranged heal, so Babel can help this little 3 core as well to heal up. And I think they basically get stuck into a situation where Kiriko, they have like the equivalent where the Kiriko, Ball, and Sojourn are somewhat together. The Sojourn might actually be separated, I can't quite tell, but I think Kiriko's on the point. 3 go on the point, 3 go for the Kiriko. I assume someone has forced the blink from them. We don't know what forces it, but they don't have it. They get killed. But they've set up this crossfire. Like, you walk into the middle of this map, O2 Blast are going to kill you. You have to force the rotation out of one side, probably from this cage. But even then, if you try and force the rotation, they can rotate equal. They can counter-rotate very quickly, because Sojourn is a hero. Anyway, Top Dragon's just going to get shredded down. Runs away, and despite the fact that O2 Blast went back to the spawn and came back again, they took the point first. SPG had the positioning, they lost the fight. Now this is another position you see, especially Farah's as well, doing. Play behind this like lighthouse, and you're fairly safe. Sanguinar is not with them right now, so kind of bold to be doing this. Oh no, they are, they're just higher up. Anyway, Junbin is just like, nope, I'm going to chase you around, I'm going to make your life a misery. Give Probe some space. The ball is creating space because the Probe is basically just letting getting to free shoot. Again, they're now hunting down the Sojourn. It's just the target recognition. Like, they can go on Sanguinar, and Sanguinar is low, by the way. They can try and force the blinks out of Lee Sumin. They seem to have gone, okay, we're diving Ade now, we're all putting in our cooldowns into Ade. Look at how miserable his life is. Ball's in there with them. Top Dragon does finally kill Probe. I think this is just a burst down type thing, where they throw the stickies and then do the, you know, the E combo and just melt someone. That's Probe down. They've used Valglow for this. This was an ult invested. O2 Blast used Pulse Bomb, don't get value out of it. Kind of the problem with this comp, you can build Pulse Bomb very quickly in the Greek ult, which is kind of part of the reason why Tracer sees so much play in it. Also, Tracer on this patch has got the bug/buff where she can do more damage at further range, like a drop-off doesn't work properly. But the problem is with her ultimate is if you Pulse Bump someone, you're going to probably get healing Foodooed, and it's just going to drop off and do nothing. Either way, it's still forcing a pretty powerful cooldown. O2 Blast invests Minefield, Junbin puts it on the point. They're not going for really kills with this, they're just giving them, you know, the good old fuck off. Like, get off my point, you're not allowed on here, we're going to get as much time for this as possible. And if we can delay long enough, Sojourn, pretty fast hero, they get back to the fight fairly quickly. Nice little boop. Heesan kills Ade finally. Junbin is just chasing around like Lee Sumin. Sanguinar, just being a menace. Lives on like 1 HP. Just think of Ball as like Fat Tracer. They're just going around together assassinating people. It's actually really pleasing to watch. And it can be really pleasing to play if you get a good Tracer. Again, they're chasing Sanguinar. Here comes Bliss. I'm part of the dive too, baby. Without Sanguinar, Top Dragon gets no value. Top Dragon uses Echo, copies Kiriko. Interesting choice for the copy. I've never really considered this being the advantage of the Echo. Normally you want to take a tank, they're a bit beefier, they have normally good crowd control ults. Unfortunately, Ball's not the greatest target to copy, because his ultimate is a little bit weak. It's nice to put it on the point to, you know, delay time, but you really want to be in control of the point when you do it. So they go for Kiriko, they're going to try and get a rush into a rush. Babel has already done his rush though, and things are just falling apart. Lee Sumin dies before he gets his. And O2 Blast, honestly with a lot of just mechanical skill, turn this one around. I should say as well, one of the advantages of playing Wrecking Ball, specifically on this map, he's always been strong on this map. There's a health pack down here. There's a Mega here as well. So Mega, Mega. Then you have the other side, all the way over here, 2 Megas on the mirror. You have this pole here, which is so useful to swing off that lets you get onto this high ground. You can get up here if you want. You can get onto the lighthouse behind you. It's just Wrecking Ball's playground. So he can almost just stay alive indefinitely. And there's always the threat of booping someone off the map with Wrecking Ball, with the edges near the point. And it's quite a constricted point, so his minefield does get some pretty good advantages there. Anyway, they're just chasing kills now. And again, away goes Junbin. He sang pulse bombs at A. And again, they're not getting a full 5 recontest. It's almost surgical what like O2 Blast are doing right now to SPG. Probe is playing on the lighthouse, as we can see. Pretty good position, because you can always go behind the lighthouse for, you know, safety, block off sights. Also, when you're on the high ground, and people don't really do this at low ranks, which I know because I'm there right now. If you're getting shot from, like, let's say, over here, bang, 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 soldier is shooting you, and you have this high ground over here, if you just step back a little bit this way, this will cover you from this angle. And then you can, you know, seek out safeties. One of the reasons why high ground is so good. Also, you're shooting down on someone, so you're more likely to get the crit. You know, I have the high ground memes. Probe uses ult. The Sojourn ult at this level is disgusting. Kuriko, best ult in the game. Countered, beat. They beat the Kuriko, which is kind of bold, because honestly, O2 Blast could use nothing here. They could just accept losing the fight to the Kuriko ult, come back and they probably win it. Instead, they're like, no, we're going to win this fight here and now. So the Kuriko in, Bliss beats to, you know, keep them alive for just a little bit longer, but they can burn through the beat pretty quickly. Probe pops his ult, and now it's just, can Probe click heads? Interestingly, Addy doesn't pop their ult. I think SPG have realized that if they use everything here, they're going to lose eventually. So they basically just decide, like, we're going to try and win this with Kuriko ult. Addy's low. Yeah, just Addy's low. That's basically what happens there. He doesn't want to push his ult because he thinks he's going to die. Who's chasing him? I have no idea. It's probably Junbin. Just fucking making his life a misery. The 2 goes to the point. Yeah, you can see he's tanking Junbin. I told you, the fat tracer and the thin tracer. Or just tracer. Annie must be around here somewhere. And they're like, okay, who's the threat in this fight? Well, Kuriko is, but Kuriko's kind of hard to lock down. Sojourn's hard to lock down. They have ult too, so that's their other win condition. But between us, one of us can force the dash, and then the other one can, you know, chase them down after that with the rest of their cooldowns. We're just going to be the death squad. Probe, you can just, you know, sit up here and go pew pew pew. Babble and Bliss, you have a lot of survivability between you. And you can just play the point together. So I think Bliss was actually up with Probe. I think I saw him drop at the same time. Heesang actually comes back. Junbin must call it that, like, I'm going to kill him. Junbin is mechanically extremely talented. I think he used to be a main tank player, you know, Overwatch 1 days. But he is very strong. He'll be a high commodity come 2024, I believe. But it must call, like, we've got Sojourn. One of the big things about the Kuriko ult, who gets the biggest boon from this, it's probably the Sojourn. You don't have that anymore. So only Tracer and Wrecking Ball. Wrecking Ball doesn't do too bad into the Kuriko ult, as in, like, when you have it. But it kind of is like a bit of a skill check. It's hard to get slams, like, rapidly. You can do, like, these wall jumps. You might be more familiar with if you're a Wrecking Ball player. If you go to a flat surface, roll into it, and then just before you hit the surface, you push S to come back, you can do a slam off the ground. It's pretty hard to do, especially when you're locomoting like Fireball or something. But if you do that, you can actually do some disgusting damage if you can do it multiple times in a row with the Kuriko ult. You do get the grapple hook cooldown, so in theory you can do both together, but it's a little bit awkward to get the slams off in here. But either way, it's not too bad. The rate of fire up is good. The reload speed is also very good for Wrecking Ball. Wrecking Ball is a very slow reload. But it was just over before it started. Junbin also gets an ult, just minds the point. Yeah, enjoy going to the points. It just wasn't close. But it was brave, and by brave, I think it was necessary from SPG. It was smart for them to try and force the hand and say, listen, we're going to play something that is off meta. We're going to try and make you uncomfortable and just see what happens. But unfortunately for them, this is O2 Blast. Again, O2 Blast are like, okay, well, we're going to run this comp again. If you're playing something weird, we're going to swap. Like, we're fine. We'll scout it, we'll swap. But this is our best comp. This is the comp we think catches all the best. And out they go again. Now, SPG runs a fairly similar comp, but instead of the Wrecking Ball, they run a Roadhog instead. Roadhog much better into the Winton character. Also has a lot of kill potential, like a threat. If you hook one of the squishies, you're going to kill them. Wrecking Ball doesn't really have that. Wrecking Ball can chase someone down to, the ends of the earth. He can displace people. He has, like, a AoE, like, ult that can hold an area. But Roadhog can just fucking kill you. And that's typically pretty good in, 5v5. And again, O2 Blast scout this. They're like, okay, it's a very similar comp. But they're not running the Wrecking Ball, they're running the Roadhog. The swaps are interesting here. I think they're a bit unsure. So I mentioned this into the intro. One good counter for the Hog is Sigma. We saw this a lot in the group stage match between SPG and... God damn it, the name... I keep thinking it's going to come back to me and then it goes. But we saw a lot of this Hog into Sigma... Oh, sorry, Sigma into Hog, Winston into Sigma, Hog into Winston. The other good counter is Orisa. So one of the reasons why Orisa is good, as I said, Twirly Baton, Fortify. You kind of can just mark the Hog and make him do nothing. It's basically like, I'm going to neutralize you, and then we'll take the 4v4 instead. The other interesting thing about Orisa into this, like, backbone comp, is that Kiriko Rush with Orisa kind of makes Orisa immortal. It's super hard to kill her. Because her cooldowns get reduced, she gets fortifies so quickly. She can almost like fortify into fortify. I know it's not quite true that, but I think she can fortify baton, fortify again immediately when the baton ends. And you're basically not killing Orisa into that. So if you're controlling the point and you do a rush, the Orisa can just hold the point and like you're fine. She can't die. So that's kind of one of the interesting aspects. Because there's very few ways to get invulnerability in the game. Zen ult is invulnerability for Zen. This isn't true invulnerability. You can kill the Orisa through this. But try and kill the Orisa through Fortify. There are not many things that can do it. Funnily enough though, Whole Hog is one of them. Pretty good at melting down the Fortify. It does like 5k damage. Barrage is the other one who's pretty good for doing it. But anyway, I digress. They've basically picked Junbin onto the Orisa to man-mark the Hog. The other reason I think they go for this is Sigma is not very good on this point, specifically. It's super wide, the point. His shield, like, faces, one direction. The band. His little fucking orbs, they like to bounce off things. Sure, you can play it in the cage area. It's not great, though. You kind of want someone that can, like, touch the point, hang around for a little bit, doesn't get booped into the well as well, is kind of nice. Or hooked into the well. And... yeah. Just basically someone that can live. Who can go out in the open, live, and then get back again. Because once you've got this point, it's really hard to take it back. So they go for the Orisa. We're going to just chase the Hog around. Orisa can also push people into the well with, the javelin throw. She has counters to being hooked into the well. I think it's just like... it's kind of more of a safe pick than the Sigma is on this point. Other points, you would probably see the Sigma. I'd also say that Orisa can do more into Echo than Sigma could do. So I think it's kind of like a mix between all things. It's another element to the rock, paper, scissors game. When you see an Anna, you might want to go Diva. If you're seeing like an Echo Mercy and you're in a kind of an open space, you might want to do the Orisa instead. I'm not saying like Orisa can, melt down the Echo at all, but I speak from experience. If like an Echo or a Pharah or something gets behind you with your shield and starts shooting you in the back, it's really obnoxious as Sigma. You don't have the range to deal with it. And if you put out your jazz hands, you can't eat the bean. So she's always liable to melt you down. Then the rest of the team is the, like, super aggressive flanker comp. Like, it's almost like an aggressive dive comp at this point, with nerfed Sombra, by the way, so she was not nerfed for this patch, and Tracer. I think the logic of this is, like, if we can hack Sanguinar or Top Dragon, we will blow them up. We will speed onto them, they won't have a movement ability, and we will kill them. Also, EMP, very strong in this game, does a lot of damage. Who's a hero you can farm EMP off pretty easily with Sombra? Roadhog. So I think they just decide, like, we can deal with the aerial heroes with hack. We can hack them out the sky. Heesang will finish them off. We'll just go around to, like, a little duo, kill everyone. In the meantime, if we can't get onto those, we'll farm Tuyu instead. We'll keep hacking Roadhog. Because Roadhog, without his, take a breather, that can be his ass. And then we'll EMP them. And hopefully we'll get EMP, like, on cooldown. And you'll see through this when they run the Sombra. They basically get EMP on cooldown. It's kind of crazy. Bliss has just immediately exploded. I don't even know where he was for this. But Top Dragon and Sanguinar find them. He's just idling around here. Top Dragon is way up in the sky. And just blows them up. I don't know if, like... I don't exactly know what happened there. Maybe Babel missed the Suzu. Heesang still kills Sanguinar, so I didn't see if he got hacked. Did Sanguinar get hacked for this? No. Sanguinar just got shredded by Tracer. This map is really appealing if you're a very good Tracer. There's a lot of high ground you can blink between. You can get, like, onto the windmill. Back here, back here. You can actually put a lot of pressure on the aerial heroes. Unfortunately, Heesang pays for his life, and the point goes to SPG. And immediately O2 Blast are like, hang on a minute. Is this a good idea? Because we have double flankers, we have the Orisa. Orisa can chase around the Hog. The Hog could always, though, hit one of the flankers. I think they get a little bit worried that if the Sombra is trying to hack someone, the Hog can always just, ignore the Orisa, try and find one of these two flankers, and that's their ass dead. Also, they don't interact particularly well with the flank areas. If they say super high in the skybox, you can't hack them from that distance. So Probe's like, you know what, get me back on Sojourn. We can get them with a Sojourn. I'm pretty certain Junbin also goes like, okay. Does he sound the Orisa here? He's literally in the spawn, like, going like, what do you want me on? They're trying to decide what is the best way to take apart this composition. It's really interesting. They take seconds here, like, look in the background from this. You see waddling away. This is Junbin waddling away. And when we go through this, you'll see him walk back to the spawn and just stand there for a while. Clearly they're talking as a team, deciding as a team what the best play is. You can see him now. For a good few seconds, he's like, what do you want me on? And they decide the Wrecking Ball. So this is very similar to the first point of this map. Junbin and Heesang are going to hunt down Sanguinar. They're going to put pressure onto Top Dragon, and they can put pressure onto Sojourn. They're going to pick one of them and kill them. That's kind of their game plan. This will hopefully give space for Probe just to, murder people. And it kind of gives Tuyu a little bit of freedom. But if you can kill one of these, like, especially if you can kill the Sojourn, you can turn on the Hog later. Just worry about it later. Still, pressure being put on. They actually go for the Hog, interestingly. A 3-man dive on Roadhog, but Roadhog doesn't give a damn. Despite this, how the hell does a Probe just diffs Ade? Again, if you're focusing all your attention on one hero, and Probe is better than Ade, then you better, hope that, like, Ade can live. You're kind of hoping that he can do something he wouldn't be expected to do. Anyway. Top Dragon blows up Probe, uses all of his cooldowns to kill them. And it just starts to fall apart a little bit. You can put so much pressure on one hero with this comp. It is like an aggressive dive. Probe goes like, okay, I'm not playing Sojourn anymore. I'm fed up with the Echo just dive bombing with all of their cooldowns and damage boost. I'm going to hack you on cooldown. And now we are on truly aggressive dive. We don't have the Orisa anymore, who's just going to lumber around on the point. Junbin, Probe, Heesang are going to just hunt them down. In fact, the entire team might go for, like, 5-man dives. Immediately, Junbin just slamming in. Just disrupting people, pushing them around. By the way, during all of this Top Dragon and Sanguinar swap, Top Dragon's like, okay, I don't want to play Echo into this. If I get hacked, I'm going to be killed. And as soon as you don't want to run the Echo or a Pharah, Sanguinar's like, okay, I'm not playing Mercy. Get me on the Lucio again. So SVG have basically forced O2 Blast into this weird comp. It's not really the meta comp. However, unfortunately, O2 Blasts are kind of cracked, and it doesn't matter. So they're putting so much pressure on the Hog right now. You have no Take a Breather anymore. We'll Pulse Bomb you. That's Suzu as well. There you go. Change my target. Lee Sumin can be killed. Junbin with both the supports just killed Addy. It's almost surgical. It's crazy. The target, like, swapping. Junbin's just playing his own game. He's playing Deathmatch. Somehow kills Top Dragon in that 2U jumps off the map. Pro, by the way, basically from the last fight, swapped to Sombra, almost as an EMP. He nearly gets an EMP faster than Addy gets Sojourn ult. Again, O2 Blast recognize they have Kuriko ultimate. They're going to have Whole Hog. That's a really good combo wombo. They're about to get the Sojourn ult. They're probably at a Pulse Bomb. They're going to beat us if we let them fight on the point. So you know what? We're not going to let them fight the way they want to. They can't engage the way they would like to engage. We're going to fight them early. We're going to fight them in the spawn. They're going to have to use ults to get out the spawn. I really respect this. I like it. Junbin's like, okay, time to slam. Everyone turns around. Junbin's out. You can't kill Junbin. Junbin's back in. I'm just going to roll around. I'm going to annoy you. I'm going to harass you. Even if Junbin dies, I'm going to get back to the point faster than you because I'm fucking Wrecking Ball. Probe destroys Lee Sumin, I assume with like a combination of hack, slam. In fact, I want to see this again. Because Lee Sumin doesn't use the ult. Yeah, Lee Sumin gets hacked. And they just blow up Lee Sumin. Can't TP away, can't Suzu themselves. This is so hard to do on like the ladder right now. You'll trade Junbin at like where this fight is for Lee Sumin. Because SPG can't push without them. They have to wait for the respawn. And Ball will be back faster. It's actually pretty close. Kuriko can get back faster because of... as fast because of the TP. But it's still going to be a neutral fight. And Probe is just probing away. He's getting more and more ultimate. I like watching the TP usage of Sombras at the highest level. They get so much value. They're so aggressive with the TP placements. And then just use it to like reposition around the map. They're not like, okay, I think a lot of ranked players would go all the way back to that Mega and, you know, hack the Mega, put the TP on it. I certainly would. I'm pretty bad at Sombra. Probe is put in a position that when he EMPs and TP's back eventually, if he gets pressurized, he's back in the fight again. He's already in the fight. He's building up another EMP. But anyway, Probe is now looking for an EMP. SVG are massively favoured. Big EMP hits 4, was it? Was it 3? I think it's 3. Where's... Oh, I think... Does Lee Sumin lose the Kuriko ult? No, the Kuriko ult goes off. Sorry, I thought he got hacked out of it. So the EMP hits Ade, 2U, and Sanguinar. And look already, they're like, okay, Ade's got ult. We're going to destroy Ade. They got hit by the hack. Melt them. But this is going to be difficult. It's so hard to win into the Kuriko ult. Ade gets the headshot. And they win the fight. But they traded EMP for possibly the 2 best ults on SPG side. Debatable, I'd probably rate Beat a bit higher than the Sojourn ult. But certainly the Kuriko ult. Trade Kuriko ult for EMP. Thumbs up.
It's a 2-for-1 trade as well. Let's EMP for the overclock and the Kitsune Rush, which is fine because O2 Blast don't have much, right? It's going to be the sound barrier here, and I mean, Heesang and Junbin can build theirs really quickly, but it's not going to be enough to kind of contest this fight straight up, and that's going to allow SPG to posture.
Again, Fat Tracer is marking Fin Tracer. Now Fin Tracer is marking Fin Tracer. Top Dragon is, like, look how hard it is for Top Dragon right now. Without the ball with them, Top Dragon's like trying to, shoot the Kiriko. Kiriko is so hard to kill, like, as any hero. With a hand, like, in front of her face, you can kind of block, crit shots with it. There's been a lot of videos on this. Like, Widow can't headshot Kiriko when, like, they're stood in front of one another. Or if she's looking down, I think it is, like, the head hitbox goes fully behind the hand. So it's pretty hard to burn down a Kiriko, who can teleport, who can Suzu themselves, who probably will have a Lucio with them as soon as they need to. So Top Dragon instead decides, okay, I can't kill the support, I'm going to chase Junbin around. I'm going to make his life a misery. Probe is, probing away again. And somehow they kill Tsuyu. Lee Sumin is hacked, so they can't Suzu. I mean, I think Suzu must come back up in time. They just let Tsuyu down here. Why there's no beat, I don't know. I guess he just gets blown up so quickly. He must get... Actually, I don't even know what happens to him. What the fuck hits him? Is that a pulse bomb? Yeah, he gets pulse bombed. So he's pulse bombed and melted down by the rest of the team. Okay, I see. Because there isn't the Sojourn railgun, which can sometimes catch people by surprise. I think they must have either used the Suzu to keep themselves alive. It must have been that, because the hack was off cooldown, or they broke LOS. It might have just been that Tsuyu was just trying to hold point on their own, and just got blown up by the rest of the team. And now you're in a horrible situation as SPG, because who wants to stand on the point as this comp? It's going to have to be Top Dragon just blinking in and off. Double beat, SPG like, okay, we have to invest. Fucking Top Dragon gets actually rolled. He gets beat, he's like, oh, I'm super healthy right now. Oh, I'd love to put this pulse bomb on, let's say, I don't know. I think he's trying to put it on Junbin or Blitz. Tries to go for a blink back across the well, but unfortunately during that probe hacks them, so they don't have a blink anymore. And they're in the well. And then everything just falls apart. But without the hog, it was super hard to, actually fight this. They trade beats, they trade pulse bombs effectively from the start of the fight. Ade is nowhere near an ult. Did he ult in that fight as well? Or is he just building it super slow? Where does the... Tsuyu jumps off. Ade uses it when they come back to the point. Yeah, he just doesn't build up that much charge in this fight. Or after the end of this fight. This again is some pretty good play for O2 Blast. I just wanted to see how this plays out. As soon as O2 Blast lose the fight, they're out. They're not messing about on the point, staggering kills, giving Ade any more ult charge. They just peace out. Including some players have just gone all the way behind. And it's really uncomfortable to play as a support. Admittedly, it's not too bad when you like these super mobile supports. When you know like Wrecking Ball is behind you and they're going to chase you at some point. The Sombra might also be behind as well. Yeah, Ade just can't get any value, just can't see anyone right now. Like, he's just not getting any damage done right now. Also, another annoying thing, he might be doing damage, but if you shoot Ball while he's got his shields up, you don't get ult charge off it. So off his adapted shields, this is. And we did mention on the previous episode when we did SPG again, that SPG seem to like to hold this comp very close together. They play it almost like a death ball. Top Dragon does seem to be given it a little bit more, room to work. He has been on the flank chasing people around. But I think that Junbin gets so much shield that the pressure from Ade just isn't enough to eat through all the shields. And he just doesn't get ult charge off it. Anyway, then what happens is what happens. I don't know where the Suzu goes. But Tsuyu falls to the pulse bomb. A double beat. We can see the hack again. Unlucky Top Dragon. it's never going to get, you know, old seeing that, and they just clean up the rest of them. Just as a comparison, Probe ulted the same fight as Addy did. Look at the percentage on the EMP versus the, whatchamacallit. I don't remember what Soja's ult's even called. Railgun? Super Railgun 5 million? The Soja ult. Like, it's so drastically different now. I do appreciate that part of this is the adapted shield from Junbin. You don't get ult charge off it, and he's just, you know, flying around the map. He's hard to hit. Wrecking Ball's just annoying to play against. Can just survive forever, but doesn't have really the kill pressure. Hog can survive for a good amount of time. Has insane kill pressure, but he's kind of just a waddly ult charge. It's always been his, like, issue. And O2 Blast have recognised this, just building the ults off him super quickly. They're even engaging onto you just to force his cooldowns out so he can't stay in the fight longer. It's really interesting how they do this. So again, hack the Roadhog, he can't hook me for a second, I'll build more ult charge. There's my EMP. Kind of garbage mines from Junbin, but equally smart. Junbin hides behind the pillar. Junbin can't get hooked, doesn't cancel the ult. He doesn't get the best mines, but it's still denying some space over there. They can't get to the mini anymore. Junbin's ults are really smart on Wrecking Ball, and I don't think they play Wrecking Ball again after this, so enjoy it while you can. He just mines off areas where, like, the enemy team wants to be. He doesn't, like, you know, do these huge looping plays where he tries to slam a support and ult on top of them and, you know, blow them up. He doesn't go for any kills. He doesn't even slam there. He just ults an area that he doesn't want SBG to, you know, sit in. He doesn't want them to freely be able to move into it. He doesn't want them to have that mini anymore. And he's out. He just rolls away. 2U ults for this, and immediately fucking just huge disengage. Everyone away. Like, what do you do with whole hog into this comp? There's nothing you can do. Like, he's doing like 2 damage from a distance. Everyone's disengaged. Whole hog's done. And we're back again. Junbin gets hooked. Who cares? I have 800 HP. Here comes the rush. Rush plus EMP is probably the most miserable experience you can have. And they just shred people. Kuriko is also very good for Sombra, by the way. If Sombra was still in a good spot, I wouldn't be surprised to see, like, this comp dominating. With, like, the Sombra Tracer Ball, where you could just really annihilate someone. You might still see Winston in it, but I think you would see... I think you'd see Reaper over it then. But you might see some teams, especially if they have, like, double flanker players, going for it. But anyway, it was honestly just, like, a huge... It was kind of a skill gap, to be honest with you. I think it's like a team plus skill gap. And as I said, there's no shame about this because this O2 Blast team are probably going to get picked up by some like really seriously good AL rosters. They're super cracked. But I like what SBG did. They tried something different to keep them, you know, on the toes. But unfortunately, O2 Blast are kind of like, is he called Jiren or Jiren? But I think it's Jiren. From Dragon Ball Z. He doesn't just want to beat you. He wants to see your most powerful form, and then they'll beat you with your comp. That's what O2 Blast do. They did it in the group stages versus Pokerface, who ran some really weird Sigma break comps. And O2 Blast were like, listen, you're running the comp wrong. We'll run the comp as well, and we'll beat you with it. And they did. In Dragon Ball Z's term, this is like, I don't know. It's Jiren versus Roshi. Let's say Roshi. No, let's say Krillin. I think that's a little bit fairer. They mean well. They have some good ideas, some good tactics. But the O2 Blast is just a different beast. Anyway, this takes us to King Grove Map 2. By the way, the final is first to 4, not first to 3, in case you were wondering. So, O2 Blast still have to win 3 more maps to take it. Right, SPG on the defense, they've decided to go with the Roadhog comp. 2, by the way, was classically an off-tank player, but he's very flexible. He does play some of the main tanks as well. One of the more flexible players in Korean contenders, to be honest with you. There's not much to say about this again. This is the... It's just the meta comp, the Korean meta comp, where they run the Tracer instead of the Reaper. Gets more value into the Hog, harder to kill the Tracer versus a Reaper. Heesan goes for a shot for Widow, and he's immediately onto the Reaper. Then, this is 10,000 IQ play. You see this a lot. Teams go for a Widow, they try to get a pick, try and shoot someone, you know, maybe on this back stairway. They miss the shot, they just drop back down and swap into the hero they want to be on. Heesang goes Reaper, and then when, like, SVG will think, you know, he's not on Widow, swaps back to Widow, grapples, and goes for a grapple shot. And he hits a body shot. If that's a headshot on Lee Soo-min, that's point, you know, A over.
That was cheeky, Heesang. That was cheeky. Falls down like he's gonna...
Right. So they don't get the value in the end that they honestly deserve. Lee Soo-min will just passively heal themselves. Everything's good in the hood. Okay, again, let's see how the defense has decided to hold this. We have our Tracer and our Kuriko on the flank together. I think Tuyu was in Hotel. I think I saw him back here. In fact, I'm going to let this play out a little bit more.
Another bite, but only gets him in.
Either way, I think so we have the Tracer Sojourn here. I'm pretty certain Hog and Sojourn are on the low ground. I think Hog is at like a hotel, and Lucio seems to be like between them on the high ground. It's kind of weird. Ah, no, Tuyu was on the high ground, so Tuyu was here to, you know, it was basically bait. It's actually kind of funny. I like this play. They're like, okay, we can't leave Tracer Kuriko up here. They're just going to keep shooting in the back. We have to do a dive, take this high ground away from the defense, force the Tracer out in some way, either, you know, blinking around here or blinking back through the high ground. And once we've got this high ground, then we control like this entire area of the map. SVG predicts this. They hide Tuyu, I think, in the hall. They predict that Junbin is going to dive up here, and as soon as like the dive comes in, Lee Soo-min TPs away is what OT Blast expect, but I don't think they expect a hog hook to come through. So they're trying to bait their Kuriko here. They hit Junbin. That's a big amount of his health chonked away. Great Suzu there, and somehow Lee Soo-min dies. Junbin just mans up. Junbin is next to Tuyu, but has the full confidence that they're going to receive the Suzu to keep them alive. Like, I want to see this back in slow motion. What the fuck even goes on here? That's not right. That's what I wanted to say. So just go to half speed. So yeah, Tuyu is forced to use Take a Breather. He's inside of the bubble. The Kuriko can heal him from there, but the Lucio is a bit far away. Sanguinar is a little bit further off. I don't know if they're worried about Probe or something, but they're pretty far back. Then Bliss comes across to help Junbin as well to get the kill. And Junbin just dives in there for the Kuriko. Does he drop it and go through halls? No, he just dives down the stairs. Most Winstons, you know, they just jump off the high ground, they just drop back down again. They're like, oh shit, I'm stood next to a Roadhog. Not Junbin. Junbin just chads out, he puts his bubble down, he's like, okay, I'll stand next to you. They force heal out of Hog so he can't shoot anymore, so Junbin's safe. They heal Junbin. Lee Soo-min doesn't have his blink anymore because he was used for the bait play. And that's honestly the fight over. You're not going to win without your Kuriko. Junbin goes to get the Mega. And they're now in a miserable spot. Probe has now got this high ground as well, so it's truly bad. Has a rail shot, body shot, rail shot, Junbin jumps in, you're dead. If you hit anyone with a body shot railgun and someone jumps on you as a giant, you know, ape, you're going to die. And now they're just picking apart the team. Who's the next biggest threat? Well, it's probably, you know, Ade. We'll kill Ade next. Sanguinar's going through here. Well, we'll get Sanguinar. Oh, Top Dragon's, you know, touching the point. Oh, we'll go kill Top Dragon. During all this, by the way, it's kind of interesting that Heesang goes Reaper instead of the Tracer. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't know if it's just because he can access the high ground a little bit easier than the Tracer can. He doesn't have to flank all the way around. Or if they're just happy running into the Hog, but they go for the Reaper. Good luck to you. Brutally murdered by Reaper. That's, you know, 30 or 40% ult charge. Doesn't matter that Junbin got picked off. The spawn is so close. And he created so much space. The MVP of the fight, though, Babel. Babel puts the Suzu on. I mean, it's just a teamwork. Junbin was confident that Babel would Suzu them. Junbin stayed in there. Then the combination between probably Probe, Heesang, Bliss, Babel, in probably the full 5 team, forced Tuyu to self-heal, so he can't shoot the Winston anymore. Winston's now in the bubble. Can't be shot by Ade. Can't be shot by the Tracer either. The Tracer was also being forced off on the flank anyway, so they were nowhere near to help. Sanguinar is a little bit far off. I'd probably say Sanguinar maybe should have been a bit closer just so that he could boop someone off the high ground as well. Like, it was a little bit... It felt a little bit too easy to let Bliss, like, just get up there for free. And also, once you haven't killed Junbin and, you know, the Hog's healing, Sanguinar should probably just boop them away for safety. But, I don't know, he just gets pressured off. And they're pushing aggressive. Junbin's going to push the cart for a little bit. And this is super scary. Kiriko headshots Ade. Look at Ade's health. If Probe hits, like, you know, any form of, like, charged body shot, that's your ass. Just into random spam. The other powerful thing about Kiriko, if you hit a headshot shuriken, it's like a DPS has hit you. It's brutal. It's so easy to get, like, just lucky kills. Anyway, very nice play from O2 Blast. You might also wondering, you see this a lot where Lucio's just pushed the cart. It's pretty powerful to let your Lucio come forwards with you. It's probably better to let your tank push the cart. In fact, it'd be better to let Heesang push out anyone on this comp. Why? Well, when SVG come back, they have the Lucio speed. O2 Blast wouldn't if the Lucio was pushing the cart. So you need your Lucio to be there just to speed away, like to counter engage off it. So as soon as SVG, you know, get close enough, Bliss is like, we'll speed you out. They speed them away. Chad Pro, by the way. SVG are like, okay, we're gonna speed in. Amp speed time. Let's roll. Here goes the dive. I don't even know who they're going on here. Probably someone like Probe or Junbin. It's a very soft dive. It's really just on the cart. It's like aerial denial. I don't really super like that dive, but it's hard to say. We couldn't see the angle. Maybe they did just try to blow Junbin up, for all I know. But either way, okay, he wasn't on Probe, because Probe just fucking slides into the team and just goes behind them. And it's like, hey, hi guys, I'll just rail shot you in the back. I've got ultimate as well, so I can just, you know, finish people off. I think they do go for Junbin here. It's such a smart play, though. It's so smart. I think 90% of people on the ladder, if you're Sojourn there, you see a team amp speeding into you, they're just, you know, going to try and burn someone down. You dash backwards, right? You dash backwards, you jump, and, you know, you move on from there. Ideally try and get a pick on the jump out. Probe recognizes this, and he goes forwards. He creates a cross angle all on his own. He hits the headshot of the railgun and just wins the fight. They didn't use an ultimate. That was a neutral fight. And it was so clean that SPG barely got anything out of it. They're about to get their Greek ultimate, but O2 Blast have their Greek ultimate.
O2 Blast, that was a free fight for them. Simpra's barely farm any resources, and O2 don't have to use anything at all.
There'll also be now a phase, by the way. I mentioned this on the previous map. Kiriko's tried to get that ult first, so Lucios will rarely try to heal the rest of the team. They'll keep on speed for the most part. Obviously, it's like someone's going to die, they will go on to heal. But the goal is to build Kiriko ult as fast as possible. Once you have the Greek ultimate, it's probably now flipped. Bliss is probably trying to get as much heal from like the enemy team's poke as he can. But SPG will recognize, like, we can't just poke them for, you know, for absolutely no reason. Because they'll get a beat off it. You still have, it's kind of this, do you poke or don't you poke? Generally you want to poke with this comp just because the Kiriko could always headshot you and kill you. Same with the Sojourn, she could body shot you. You get a headshot with some Lucio shots and that's your ass dead again. But you are giving ult charge to the enemy team. Anyway, Probe's just fucking disgusting. Kills the Kiriko before she can even Kiriko ult. And that's fight over. They have no ultimates. SPG immediately are like runaway mode. They might as well have fought this. I think this is kind of a misplay off SPG. O2 Blast have 5 ults at this point. They can't get more ult charge. You might as well get the ult charge yourself. Take a bit of time off the clock. But I think the logic of this is that if they die on the cart here, they're probably only going to get one good fight on third. If they go back, Kiriko can teleport through a wall and they'll probably get a fight on this first corner. So they're like, fuck it, we're out. See you later. And yeah, you heard the commentator exacerbated. 5 minutes for point 3. And they have a full ult bank. Addy overclocks. And I think they bite off a little bit more than they can chew here. That was kind of an aggressive position. The Kiriko ults get matched. Heesang goes for a Death Blossom in the ult. It does so much damage, and he just Beyblades them. However, they do use 3 ultimates for that. Both the DPS ults and the Kiriko ult. The Kiriko ult being the best ultimate in the game. Very good for a fight win. Same with the Sojourn ult. So SPG probably favourites to hold at this point now. But they have to be super careful. Probe is just putting in the work. Just disgusting. Again, in this meta, look at Junbin, how scared he is. Primal Rage gets 1000 HP. He dives, he primals, he runs away. Because you can get melted down so quickly. They force Overclock from Ade. I think that's actually what it's called. He was going to melt down Junbin. Junbin's like, my job's done. We'll just disengage. That's their big win tool right now. Get out of dodge. Unfortunately, Bliss gets caught a little bit in no man's land. And they get caught on the disengage. They catch Heesang as well on the high ground. And it was relatively painless for SPG to win this. They use just the Sojourn ultimate, the Overclock. They trade it for Primal. And they've almost reset O2 Blast's ult back now, and they have the ult advantage. So you'd fancy them winning a few fights. What did I say? Headshot by a Kiriko into, like, you know, a shuriken off Kiriko, just spamming in. That can be your ass. You've lost the play now. It's a 4v5 at the end of King's Row, with nearly 4 minutes on the clock. Big, smart brain move from Top Dragon. I'm going to hide in the back line. Shoot, and then ult immediately. Very, very smart. Notice, he didn't just immediately push Q. He put one headshot into Babel first, and then ulted immediately afterwards. There was no time for Babel to react. They were just instantly dead. Without your Kiriko, it's super hard to win the fight. The spawn here is pretty hard to push. You have to win very cleanly. So again, O2 Blaster out. More importantly, SPG went into fight with one ultimate. SPG have won another fight with no ultimates now. Eda gets a pick onto Heesang, full disengage, run away. And that's basically 2 minutes pulled off the clock. And O2 Blast Jordan has basically not got ults because they've not had a fight. They just keep running away. Anyway, Probe pops his ult first. There goes Beat, there goes Primal. You have used more ultimates, but you're in a position of, like, we have to win these fights now. And you basically nullify the Overclock. They don't get any picks. And it's a pretty clean fight. If you can win fights cleanly, you just deny your opposition getting ult charge. SPG are just going aggressive. They've started to set the tempo now. Whereas before, O2 Blast were really setting the tempo. In part because of just picks. again, really interesting positioning. SPG, rather than adding, going back, they've decided to take this little high ground up here, which is kind of hard to, displace people off. And they're basically baiting O2 Blast into using ultimates to get them off this high ground. Chase jumping around, there goes the beat. They're using a beat to get out. We'll trade Creek ult into it. Goodbye, Junbin. The important thing on this fight, though, is Babel doesn't ultimate. So they've now seen that SPG have used both their support ults. O2 Blast used one ult for it. I mean, to be fair, the beat came out in the fight before. They saved Babel, so they're like, okay, we're going to win this with Death Blossom plus Creek ult. However, during all of this, the cart has been pushing back. They're now in a territory again where they're going to have to win 2 fights. Ade again goes into the Winston bubble of 2. Very, very smart play. Let's see this again. So 2U puts a bubble down at the choke, trying to force people to walk into the sidelines of Ade. Ade gets bubbled off by Junbin as well. Ade's like, okay, see you later. I'll get into my team's bubble. Probe's like, oh shit, I can't shoot this guy. Gets headshot. Kiriko pops the ult for this as well, and Babel gets killed. He sang Death Blossoms, but it's too late. You've lost 2. You've lost your literal backbone of the team. They're just trying to get some distance here so they might go to 1-fight territory. Junbin pops Primal. They decide they're going to try and win this. They can't win the fight in the end, but they are getting distance for this. And they displace everyone out. Pretty good work from O2 Blast, honestly, to turn that fight around. Losing your Sojourn and your Kiriko, I think it's just a Death Blossom did so much damage into the SPG, they just had to run away. Anyway, we're back to 1-fight territory. Top Dragon's looking for a Death Blossom. Just the threat of it forced Probe off the high ground, he respected it. And back to here. Probe goes through the window to get a little headshot on Sanguinar. That's going to be bad. It's another 5v4. Creek ultimate, you don't want to fight into that. They counter beat it from Bliss. So it's a soft reset. You still can't go into them with beat at this level. You will get shredded with beat. But anyway, that's the big threat. The Creek ult's gone. The only thing now they have to worry about is the Death Blossom. Probe is approaching his ultimate. They're slowly penning him into the corner. Very nice work from Junbin. Just bringing that healing back for Babel. Babel's always like catching Lee Soo-min Jin now to get the lap on the ultimate for this point. Look at the damage. It's disgusting. 2 just has the primal on the cart to stay alive. But at the very least, O2 Blast, they've taken 4 minutes 30 off the clock now. Here comes another Kiriko ultimate. Top Dragon gets booped off the map by Blitz in Death Blossom. I don't even know where he comes from. It's just, see you later, Top Dragon. Just straight off into the pit. I guess he did it on the cart, but I'm not entirely certain. And maybe he got, booped by the Monkey Leap and the Lucio Boop. I'm not sure. But anyway, he's gone. And that's kind of, your ass now. Heesang does Beyblade. And the important thing is to get time, and they do. They get 9.9 seconds. Guarantees O2 Blast another bite at the cherry, even if SPG pushes all of the way. But SPG, the defense at the end, very, very good. Anyway, O2 Blast, this is their comp, their meta comp. Heesang on the Reaper, occasionally will go into the Tracer. But we've seen this all before now. They're very comfortable in this comp. Also, interestingly, unlike any of the other teams in this region, they seem to be content to run this into the hot comp. Remember that SPG ran the hot comp from the start, and they forced them off with the Winston comp, the Winston Reaper. I think it's almost like they were diving the Hog. Like, they were just putting so much pressure on the Hog that he just couldn't live anymore. He couldn't live with, you know, Reaper and Winston and a bubble in his face. Anyway, SPG go into the Hog comp. Again, in theory, the counter to, you know, the Winston comp. Have Top Dragon and the Tracer. Good harass. And 2U is just a threat. Again, we have the Kiriko, the Winston, and the Surgeon together. This is like their little 3 squad. And we have Lucio and Reaper in the hotel. Babel gets killed by Top Dragon, just continuously pressuring him. Probe trades, but that's not a good trade for you. This is recognized by O2 Blast, and they basically go like, okay, we have to do a quick engage now. They all go in, because we haven't got the healing to stay in a fight. And as soon as like the dive is over, they force people back, they just run away. Bliss does get killed for it as well, which is the other reason which caused the retreat. O2 Blast are like, we're going to give you 2 ticks. We want our supports back. We can't fight you on the point without them. So SPG can just walk into the point. Still, Probe is trying to get some ult charge. Nearly kills Ade. 2U really needs to hit some of these hooks. Probe kills Ade. It's open. 2 ticks have been given. Fine, we'll trade it. 2 ticks for some time. Good deal. Hog hits the Kiriko. Kiriko's kind of an annoying hero to kill with the Hog hook combo. I think for the reason I mentioned that her hand is like in front of her face. So it's hard to get the one-shot melee combo. She does survive a lot. Also, she can Suzu immediately afterwards, hit the Hog, and you'll get Suzuki yourself and become invulnerable. Anyway, 2U uses his hook, he uses his cooldown. Look at the fucking dive here. Junbin is just chasing 2U around with the Reaper and the Lucio. They're like, come here, pretty. Top Dragon is then just doing some miracles in the back lane. Top Dragon is someone else I'd expect to be picked up for Owl at some point. I don't know if he's old enough yet to do it, but he's a very flexible player. Very good at projectiles, good at flank heroes. 2U gets the opening pick again, but it's super scary to go into the Kiriko ult, so they have to counter Kiriko. Here goes the whole hog Kiriko, and look at that damage. It's disgusting. Let's not talk about the Death Blossom from Heesang. He just got a little bit happy. I think you're like, okay, Heesang must be swapping. He must just not be comfortable in this comp. And he's like, nah, I just tried to win, you know, the 5v1 on my own. That's what happened there. Anyway, Annie gets fucking picked instantaneously, which is really annoying because it means they're gonna get to fight you at the Archway and probably get the Archway. And it's no fun to push through Archway on King's Row. Well, I think this again is one of the things I'm not. It's kind of what I don't like about the mirror comps with Overwatch. I kind of wish there was like competing metas. It makes the game way more interesting. Right now, Probe is kind of just diffing the other DPS. He's putting so much of a threat onto Ade that Ade's just not being able to play aggressively enough. He's keeping Top Dragon in check. He's just making 2U's life a misery whenever he pops out. He's just doing disgusting damage right now. 2U goes on a little flank, because why not? They recognize the Roadhog's on the flank. We're going to dive everyone else. Your Hog can't peel for you. Here comes Hog waddling around. Let's chase the Roadhog now. Team, he has no cooldowns anymore. I'll just build an ult off him if you don't mind. Alright, see you later. Back in the spawn. I'll take it. So they traded Primal Rage for time and a bunch of ult charge, because SPG basically just ran away. You would fancy SPG winning a fight pretty soon. It does come down to, again, the Probe versus Ade fight, though. Or a Pulse Bomb. A big Pulse Bomb. Again, aggressive tempo. Fucking just Chad move from Probe. I'm going to slide into the Tracer and kill them. Who has a pocket, by the way? Lee Sumin is over here pocketing them. Which does mean that 2U doesn't have any other heals other than himself. So it's just him and the Lucio. And probably the Tracer are fighting off the dive right now. And 2U's just having a miserable time. Ade is also getting fucking shredded. They do beat to keep them alive. Bliss also beats to try and keep Heesang alive. Heesang, unfortunately, is killed by the hook combo. And that's fight 1. Importantly, though, Ade pops his ult. Probably didn't need it. When does he pop it specifically? He's already popped it. I think just to guarantee the kill on Heesang, they beat and Sojourn ult. Probe's like, okay, we've probably lost this. I'll save my ult. And now, if you think you can't get out alive anymore, just die payload. And that's all they've done now. They've decided they can't escape. We're just going to die on the payload. Ade was poking in just to try and keep his charge. If you hit someone with your shot, you retain the charge that you're at for 8 fucking seconds. It's disgusting. He was at 91 charge. A headshot at, I think, 84% charge will kill a 200 HP target. So he was trying to just hit someone. Even if he hit 1 bullet, he would have held his charge at 90-odd%. And it's very surprising when, you respawn that the other team already has charge. You can kind of get a surprise headshot. I think that's what Ade was trying to do there. He loses his charge, unfortunately, for him. And fucking Probe just doesn't give a shit. He's just like stood in front of them in the slow field with a Roadhog in front of him. He's like, yeah, I'll fight you. I kind of like this disengaging again off SPG. They recognize that Probe's ult is scary, very scary. We're going to run away. We're not going to fight you with this ult. See you later. We're going to rotate. They backed out. Probe still nearly kills someone because it's Probe. And they're on the little flank around. Now, unfortunately for the hog comp here, it's really hard to displace people off this little high ground. Winston can kind of just sit up here indefinitely. Reaper loves this part of the map. It's probably the best part of the map for Reaper. You can sit onto this high ground, you can Death Blossom off it, you can, flank all the way back around through this corridor. You can go into the subway if you really need to. You can go on the back of the curve as well and go around to the mini. There's a lot of places Reaper can just come from suddenly. And it's hard to see his TP, movement. Because it's pretty easy to break line of sight after you TP. Anyway, they recognize that SPG, they can't push that way. It's basically impossible for them to do so. Great hook onto Heesang, that's his life gone. The one way to get Heesang off there, fucking hook him down. Here goes Whole Hog, we're going to kill Junbei. And despite all of this, they're still only going to get 3 minutes when they cap. They used Creek ult in this as well to make sure that they got the kills. When does he actually pop this? He pops it before the Whole Hog. So they've basically decided we're going to combo Creek ult on Whole Hog to get the kills. And O2 Blast are like, okay, we're happy with this. You've used your best ultimate. You've used Whole Hog. We won't use any ultimates. You've won this fight. Well done. Enjoy the second point. We have our Creek ult now. Basically, O2 Blast, not guaranteed to win the next fight, but it's going to be super hard for them to lose. Very aggressive play again from Babel, who probably didn't really need to since he's already got his ult. Really run the risk of just getting picked off by someone. He didn't sow, all is good in the hood. Heesang has finally built a Death Blossom. They're just going to try and get him into position for it. This is also a pretty good map. Good point for Reaper. Can control this mega area, can get onto the high ground, can TP behind onto this half high ground. How Lee Sumin dies here, I just don't know. Where the fuck is Lee Sumin? So Lee Sumin goes onto the mega with Top Dragon and just gets completely obliterated. Now you see him, now you don't. Watch his health bar. And it's gone. He gets hit by a Kiriko shot. And then just gets zapped down by Winston, I think. And he's gone. And that's your fight. You can't win this anymore. And what's worse for SPG, they didn't use the Kiriko ult. They saved it. It was a fight win for no ultimates. It was a neutral fight. And also, losing your Kiriko is really bad because they're not building ult charge anymore. And it's the best ultimate in the game right now. Until Ramacha comes out and has a more broken ultimate. I've not seen any of the test playing of Ramacha yet, but I look forward to that coming out tomorrow/today, depending on when this goes up. Anyway, probe ults, that's the fuck off for SVG. They're like, we don't want to fight you into this, we have no counter to it. And Ade's about to get his ultimate, and you won't have yours. This is so disgusting to push through. I almost think SVG misplay this. They go too quickly here. The last thing you want to do is push through a fucking slow aura into Winston, into Reaper as well. Look where Pro puts his fucking aura. Right in the doorway. 2U walks through. I think he gets booped out. This is actually a huge play. Big brain play, Bliss. They recognize it. People say supports, you don't get much value. You can get these like micro value plays which are monumental. So Bliss is going to be up here somewhere eventually. 2 is going to walk out, get slowed on the field here. I think he goes for a retreat back into the tunnel because, as I said, it's really stupid to push through it because you're going to get chunked down while you can't move quickly. Bliss recognizes and boops him out, and that's going to be 2U's ass dead, I think. We didn't see it come to fruition. Ah, there he is. Bliss is above. Drops down, boops 2U. 2U drops his bubble, but he's completely separated from the team. He's trying to get back. He can't. They have to disengage. And 2U does die to Probe. That's your fight done again. Neutral. Well, actually not quite a neutral. And Probe did use his ult, but they basically won the fight after that. They go super aggressive on this. I think trying to force ult out again. Or just to get a few more stagger kills. Get Probe his ultimate back again. At least start building towards it again. Like, touch the spawn door challenge from Junbei. May have been a little bit too much off they can chew this time. And Heesan gets murdered, I think mainly by Ade. And now they're like, full retreat, get away. They use the Sojourn ultimate, but they might not get another one now before the fight ends. And this is the hardest point to push now. The spawn door is so close. There's a really nice pack position, and we have Probe. Probe just diffs Ade again. And SPG are like, we have to retreat again. Look at the aggression. This is probably where SPG loses this map. They don't have Ade still. He's not here. O2 Blast full engaged. They're like full, steam ahead. We're going to get more time for the clock. We're going to chase kills. Again, you see this so little on the ladder. If you get a pick and you're in a 4v5 and you have like all your cooldowns, you have full health, which is basically what O2 Blast are. They got a pick. They weren't in like a fight that, broke down. Go and chase the kills. You have Lucio, speed on them. Amp speed, chase them, kill them, murder them, in-game of course. You'll eat more time of the clock, Probe will build ults faster, your other team will build ults faster. Okay, they have no way to gain any more ult charge right now, because they all have the ults anyway. Lee Soo-min in a kind of, I don't know, it's like last gas, but it wasn't really necessary. He pops Kiriko defensively. Kiriko always feels really bad when you pop it defensively. It's kind of trying to catch people out, I think. Hoping that like Top Dragon can just turn around and blow Junbin up. Maybe trying to force Babel to use their ultimate, but they just get brutally murdered. Heesang pops Death Blossom, so they do get another ultimate out, but you did not want to trade Death Blossom for Kiriko ult. You wanted their Kiriko ult at the very least. And 50 odd seconds left. You're not going to have your two most impactful ults. You just have Beat. Beat can save you through the Kiriko ult to some extent, but the Beat will run out eventually. Also, Kiriko is just too much damage. Again, Junbin's like, no, fuck you. You're not... It's 39 seconds left. You think you're going to walk to the point? You have me to get through. Jumps down on the choke and Primals just pushes them away. He's just burning time off the clock at this point. Just one thing I want to note as well. I'm not going to say, like, the Kirikos don't have kill pressure. They do have kill pressure. But they're not just consistently, DPSing. Babel is very much, focusing healing over everything else. And once he's got people healed up, then he'll do some poke and prodding. You do see a lot of Kirikos on rank trying to get actually, like, hero kills. Almost playing it like a Zenyatta. But you definitely want to be, in this comp, especially with the Lucio, you want to be keeping your team up as much as possible because you don't heal that quickly. Anyway, just probe things. Top Dragon does pop the Death Blossom into the Creek ult. It is a bit of a counter to the Creeko, but only it's like a soft counter to it, really. If you Creek ult, you're going to force your team into that line where the Creeko Fox jumps around. If you Death Blossom into it, you're expecting everyone to clump there, so it's a little bit of counterplay to it. Unfortunately, everyone in O2 Blast will have their cooldowns reduced and have, their DPS way up. So typically what happens is they get brutally murdered in mid-Death Blossom. They do catch Probe, though. Top Dragon does live, but they traded Death Blossom for a pick, and they lost the same pick, so it was basically for nothing. It does give them a bit of the fuck off, though, so they didn't get a huge rally from the Creeker, but it's now overtime. Ade's just respawning, it's 4v5. O2 Blasts go like, okay, we haven't got Probe. Probe is ultimate. Probe is the win condition now. There's nothing stopping him. We'll back off to get a 5 as well, and here comes Probe. We'll just break the bubble as fast as possible. If you come to the cart, you have to go through Probe. And Probe doesn't miss a lot. And this is the second map to O2 Blast. Very much closer, but I feel like this was meant to show that if SBG mirror O2, they're close. Like, they're good at the comp, don't get me wrong. It sounds like I'm shitting on them, but they're really good at this comp. But O2 Blast are just a bit better, and they can't win them into winning the mirror. So it's a little bit unlucky. Anyway, this now leads to SBG taking, and this is often the case when you're getting kind of rolled, you take teams to Circuit Royale on the Escort map because it's very long sight lines, and this favors snipers, which normally means you can't run like the Winston Rush comp because it's too large a gap to cross. You'll get picked off by a sniper. So you'll normally see a different comp. This is trying to force O2 Blast into a comp that they're maybe less dominant on. Maybe force them onto the Sigma comp instead of the Winston comp. And this is kind of, what happens. SBG bring in Varipick into the Top Dragon. Varipick is a hit scan play for SBG. Which again gives you the suggestion we're going to play snipers. O2 Blast have a set change. So Probe goes out for Prophet. Prophet is their sniper, like their long-range hit scan player. Max comes in for Junbin. Max is basically a Sigma player at this point. He always swaps in for the maps where they want to play Sigma. He's an off-tank specialist. I think he will probably... I think he's also underage at the moment. But they're probably like keeping him and Junbin together as like, a view towards the future. They also take out Bliss to replace with Caffeine. Caffeine is classically a flex support-like player, so he plays stuff like Zen and Baptiste. Again, indicates they're not going to play Lucio, they're going to play a Rush comp. They keep Heesang in, because Heesang is very flexible. And we'll get into the actual map in a second, but Prophet is going to play, and this is not the same Prophet, that was on the Shanghai Dragons with the F, for making more money from a financial transaction. This is like, Prophet is in sort of like religious iconography. Prophet. He plays long-range hit scan. He's brought in to play the Widowmaker, and he's very, very good at long-range hit scans. Disgustingly so. I think he's also underage, so he won't be picked up this season. I could be wrong. Maybe he's going to just turn 18 next year. But he's a pretty good talent. I mentioned at the start, O2 Blasts, their main roster, 4 of them may get picked up this season. They have, I think, a roster of 9 right now. The 4 in the back roster, there's a lot of younger players who are just going to come in and take their place. O2 Blast are so good at replacing their roster with, like, a new, unbelievable roster. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, don't be baited by O2 Blast comp. They're not going to play Symmetra, they're just fucking playing the piano. Same with the Zarya. Now, the defense, however, is locked in. And this is kind of a super weird comp. And I'm going to talk about it when we get the O2 Blast one coming in. So this resembles some stuff that Pokerface play, who we haven't shown on the channel. But they played a lot of Brigitte comps, and it caused the commentators to mold, because Brig's not in a great place right now. Anyway, out of the spawn doors, and here are the comps that the teams intend to go with. So SPG are on something completely different. They're on the Sig comp as predicted, because this area is such a long sightline all the way back over to here, before, you go around the corner. And Widow can just shoot down the entire thing. If she headshots you, you're dead. If you're playing as like the Winston Rush as well, you can't dive from this part of the map all the way to like the bridge, like beyond the bridge. You're just gonna get chunked down. You'll have to stage halfway on the bridge. Your bubble will get broken by both Sojourn, sorry, wrong team, Sojourn and Sigma, and you're just gonna have a bad day. So some teams do play the Rush here, but a lot of teams don't do it. Even though, and I mentioned this before, the rock, paper, scissors, Winston's pretty good into the Sigma comp. Sigma can't block the Winston damage. It's a cleave damage. It's just too big a sightline for the Winston to make the dives. It's like Junkertown, where you saw a lot of like Sigma-based comps. And even now you still see Sigma-based comps. Just because you can't dive, it's too big a gap. Anyway, so they have the Sigma to indicate they're going to play some sort of sniping comp. They have the Sojourn again, which is what you expect. However, they don't pick Widow. Varipick goes into the Sojourn, Ade stays on the Tracer. Which is really interesting, because you're not really going to play with the Sig Shield in this comp as Tracer. And this part of the map is not really good for flanking, so Tracer doesn't get a huge amount of value here. Weirdly, the defense is like partly set up in here, so Brig and Sig are in here. I think Tracer is over here somewhere. And I'm not entirely certain where the Creek is, but it doesn't really matter. The Creek can just teleport around. Anyway. The backline is the next interesting part of things. So, why Brig? Good question. And I haven't got a great answer to this. I think their comp is just trying to catch everything. So, in the defense, it's very hard to go back and swap your comp. You're kind of locked into the comp you go with. This is the advantage of the attackers at the first point of the map. You both have the spawn closer, and you can swap your team to like be better into the enemy's team for a very minimal time loss. So I think this defense is meant to catch out if they're going to play some Winston. Because as I said, some teams do run the Winston Rush here. Brig isn't bad into Winston Rush. Now, the logic behind this, she hasn't got a stun anymore, which is what used to be really good for her. She does, though, still have her flail. Like, this is a flail. And what you can do is, if Winston jumps in, if you flail the Winston and you hit it every single time, you can deny the Winston his jump, basically. And Winston then is just sat on the ground and he's like, I'm sad, I'm Winston, I have to wait like 8 or 9 seconds for my jump cooldown to come back online. Which means that you protect your Sojourn more, she doesn't have to use her cooldowns as often. So like, you're almost using the Brig to babysit the Sojourn. Also, she's an AoE healer, a bit like Lucio as well. You have to do damage to proc Inspire, but Winston jumping in will give you an Inspire proc almost guaranteed, because you'll always have, the opportunity to whip shot him. And Winston's advantage is cleave, so, hitting damage on multiple enemies. Brig is AoE healing. So this is, I think, the logic of the comp. Where it kind of falls down a little bit is Rally is still a decent ult, but it's nowhere near as good as it used to be. Rally used to be a guaranteed fight win. I mean, back in the old days, it was literally, you couldn't beat the ultimate. It was just too strong. The only way to beat it was to have a Rally of your own, and it was really ass to play against. Then they eventually made the armor, decay on it, and then eventually it's now overhealth. There's no armor anymore that goes on top of it. And the overhealth has kind of, saved it as an ability. It's no longer OP. It's actually pretty underwhelming, to be honest with you. Of the big defensive ults, and I'd say of the defensive ults, for supports this is, Beat, I think, is number 1. Beat is like, I'm going to save everyone with this AoE sound barrier. It's going to travel around. We can still fight. We can still shoot in it. We still have a lot of damage. And there's not a lot of counterplay to it. The counterplay really is to, stun them out of the beat. Or just, wait for a while for the beat to decay. Again, I'm going to go for defensive here, so I'm going to ignore the Kree. The Kree cult is definitely better than it. Trance, I think, is next. So, Transcendence, and a lot of people rate this very highly, is a huge up on the healing. However, it forces your team close together, which is a detrimental side effect when you go into something like maybe a Jungle Queen or an Anna with an anti-nade. Because an anti-nade will always, stop the healing from Transcendence, which is really bad. The other thing that people don't really mention about Transcendence is, although you can leave your Discord orb on people, and that's what a lot of Zens do, they'll Discord someone, then Trance, keep them in line of sight so they always have the Discord on, so that they get more damage. But you're not shooting as your Zen, and your Zen does a lot of damage, so you're really 4v5 on the damage. So, Trank, pretty good, but Beat is probably better. This is like more... If you're going to play Zen, you're going to go for more, kills, more damage. If you're going to play Lucio, you're probably playing for, speed and a little bit of, better defense. Also a bit of, booping. I know Zen can boop as well now, but the displacement from boop and the wall riding ability, a lot of survivability on Lucio versus Zenyatta. I then have Rally as your next big defensive ultimate. So Rally is health up, but unlike Beat where you get, all that value immediately, and then it just decays over time, Rally is the opposite. It kind of increases over time, but if you keep chipping away at it, it just keeps, dropping down. It never goes so high amounts, so you can always kill people through Rally now. That's the important difference between the overhealth and the armor. Rally made it so hard to kill people through because armor is super OP in this game. Overshield, though, it just acts as health. It's not as scary. So, it's good, don't get me wrong, but it's not great. And also, since she's lost her shield bash, so this isn't anything to do with the ult, but a shield bash is now a little boop. It's almost only used for movement. I'd say the final reason for playing Break here as well is she is kind of anti-snipe technology a little bit because she has her own shield. But equally, she can't really interact with a sniper. The reason why, though, this is truly bad at this point, and kind of why I don't think it's worth even trying to catch the Winston comp, as soon as O2 Blast go to this Sigma poke comp, this is so aggressive poke comp, Brig does absolutely nothing. She gets zero value here. There's nothing she can do. She can't whip shot the Sigma easily. He's got a shield. Isang and Prophet are going to play a mile away. Barbel's going to just discord you and your shield's going to pop. And Kathleen is going to be a mile away shooting you. You just won't be able to pop Inspire. And therefore, you get no value. The other nice thing, and I think this is kind of why you're running the Tracer with this, you can put health packs on Tracer, which makes them have a bigger advantage into the 1v1. I don't know if that was what the game plan here was, to get Addy onto Tracer and try and get him onto a Tracer mirror and take the 1v1 with Isang. I don't know. But whatever it is, this comp, it's kind of like a jack of all trades, but a master of absolutely none of them. Whereas O2 Blast comp, which I don't even talk about, is really fucking good on this point. Lots of long-range heroes. Isang even goes off the Sojourn and goes into the Tracer, which blows my mind. Arguably, Brig is better into Tracer. I honestly would probably prefer to play Sojourn into the Sigma because you can just blow the shield up eventually. Or at least you can get some charge of it and just keep putting pressure on. But I guess Hisang's like, oh, I'll just go behind you and I'll put pressure on Varapik. But anyway, they're playing in this little room right now. The cart, by the way, it's all well and good playing in this closed quarter. It's ha. The weakness of the Brig is you shoot her from range, but what if we play indoors? Twiddles mustache into little mustachios. Yeah, but the fucking cart is just gonna, move. So Prophet takes the Sojourn instead, so I think this is part of the reason Hisang goes into the Tracer, to give Prophet the Sojourn, because Prophet's not as good at Tracer. Max kills Addy immediately. Look at Varapik now. Look at the car. What the fuck is this clown car defense right now? You still have Tuyu, Sanguinar, and I think Lee Sumin are all in here. The cart is already pushing, and Varapik just has to run away. Again, it's more I'm crying. It's probably far enough away now that Lee Sumin can't teleport to them either. I don't actually know exactly where Lee Sumin is. He might have already TP'd. Nope, Lee Sumin is here. So the supports and Tuyu are just together. And they're pretty isolated now. They go for a little fight. The cart, by the way. The cart. The cart? Okay, Lee Sumin kills Heesang. Varipik does kill Max eventually. Max does like... It's like a horror. Not even a silent horror, but like an atmospheric horror. It's like... Da-da, da-da, da-da-da-da. He's just walking towards him, and Varipik's like... Ah, brrr. Eventually Varipik, overwhelms Max. But the damage is done. You've literally given almost to the second corner, and you didn't really fight on the cart. They just pushed it the entire time. They've got some trades, which is nice. Getting Max is pretty big as well, because you'd obviously want your Sigma to be on the cart at this point to push through. So they might be able to get a little re-engaged now, thanks to that pick. Again, Sanguinar swaps. So Sanguinar is recognized as like a main healer, so he's normally a Lucio Mercy type player. I think that's part of the other reason why they tried to get him to break, because you don't really want them onto a hero they're not comfortable on. He might not be comfortable on Zen, might not be comfortable on BAP. But anyway, he goes into the BAP. This might become like a little bit weird for people again. You do see this term, main support, flex support, a lot. The term really is archaic at this point. It doesn't really mean anything in modern day Overwatch. And it hasn't really for a while, to be honest with you. So, what was main support, flex support? So, it kind of originated from really early OG Overwatch, where you could swap between roles. You didn't have to have this 2-2-2 fixed, or now 1-2-2. You used to have to pick whatever the fuck you wanted. I mean, back when you could pick, the same hero as other people as well. You could have 6 soldiers running around. The flex support play would typically have some hero pools on supports you wouldn't want to like swap onto, also the DPS. It's kind of hard to explain. Like the early game, you often wanted to have like a Lucio or a Mercy, depending on which like early game meta you wanted. You'd almost always have them in the game, so you would have one support that specialized on those heroes. Because once you'd be on it, you wouldn't really want to swap off it. Or you'd swap off onto the other one. The flex support then would occasionally play like a DPS. Like some flex support players would know like sniper heroes. Some would play like Torp and stuff. And typically they would end up on the support that you wouldn't run for the entire time. Like they might be able to be like countered. So typically you got like Zen early on, the Ana as well. And that term kind of just stuck. So people that would learn Lucio and Mercy were just known as the main support players. And this would extend to like Break. And then anyone that had a background of playing like Zen, Ana, and what came after Zen, Ana? It was Moira next. They kind of came with the flex supports. It's nothing to do with the healing output though. You see this a lot, like, you're the main healer, you should be doing the most healing. That's bullshit. Lucio doesn't do that much healing, especially at, this level. In some of these rush comps, he's speeding around like a mad lad. He's like a fly like shit, around shit. He's just fucking zipping around everywhere. Mercy also very good at single, target healing, but not very good at AoE healing. Not as good as Moira, for example, and Moira is only run by your flex support. It was really the flex support is the support that you're more likely to swap off. But now we're in the range of Overwatch 2, you can't, and like the end of Overwatch 1, you can't swap roles. Flex support doesn't really exist, and it hasn't existed for a while. The pools still kind of exist, and I would say that a lot of flex supports play the mechanically more challenging heroes. And to that, I'd probably say Zen is one of them, mechanically pretty challenging, hard to hit the orbs. It's very specialized role. Ana similarly, kind of specialist, hitting the sleep darts, pretty hard to do. BAP sits in the middle, like, obviously you can get way more value if you can, DPS people down, but the heal's pretty forgiving on it. The lamp is fairly forgiving. And I would also say at this level, your like main support players are still pretty crap. They're just not like, they don't compare to the DPS and the other flex support players. The comparison I would say is like, people like laugh at, let's say defenders or like defenders running out of the defense, trying to take people on. It looks so like leggy, it looks gangly, and like they kick the ball out of play or something in football. Soccer for Americans. If you played like just an average Joe against a defender, they look like Messi compared to you. They just embarrass you. Just the level is just completely different. Similarly, there was flex tank and main tank. Flex tanks were the tanks which typically, flexed off onto other things or could flex off into other things. The main tank was often the tank you just wouldn't ever swap off. This ended up being like, Ryan at first and Winston afterwards for the dive. I'd also say the flex tank eventually became like, you know, the tank that helps the main tank, that kind of became synonymous with that. But that doesn't really exist anymore. The hero pools still remain. So when I say someone's like an off tank or someone's a main tank, it's not really what I'm saying as the way they perform in the game anymore. It's to do with the hero pools they have. But this will get blurred, especially as more and more heroes get added to the game. You're going to get more and more specialist heroes. And eventually the pools might even like split again to some degree. Like you might want to learn like these like 3 or 4 supports. And it kind of covers for any like type of meta. And similarly you might want to do the same on the tank. But right now there's so few tanks and supports, so you can kind of stick to the old flex support, main support. Anyway, that was my digression to why there's no flex supports and main supports anymore. And flex tanks and off tanks. Sorry, flex tanks. I didn't mean flex tanks. Off tanks and main tanks. Anyway, I'm completely distracted now. Addy just gets picked. I think Addy was just trying to contest the cart to stop it from capping so that you could get back in time. And Sang went down and Lee Su-min because he didn't have speed anymore. And eventually just bites off too much they can chew. That pulse bomb is really smart, by the way. If you're like me and you have trouble hitting pulse bombs, here's some pulse bomb tips for you. If an enemy team is against a wall like this, rather than just pulse bombing them directly, throw a pulse bomb either like directly at the ground or like try and put it onto the wall. So if you put it on the ground here, the enemy team has to walk away. They can't walk into the wall. It's an inanimate object which has, you know, physics. You can't just tunnel through it. You can't quantum tunnel through it yet. Well, actually, unless you're Kuriko, in which case you might be able to quantum tunnel through it. But anyway, they have to walk away from it, which means that even if you miss the pulse bomb, they're going to walk towards your pulse bomb, or they just have to stand where they are, which means they're going to get chunked for either the entire pulse bomb damage, because it does have a splash on it, and it's a pretty damaging pulse bomb, or they have to like try and get over it, which is a longer distance, and they're probably just going to get killed. Either way, it's going to leave you on a low amount. Here, he's saying pulse bombs the wall. Like, I think it's really like intentionally pulse bombs the wall. Knowing that Caffeine is going to... Not Caffeine. Sanguinary is going to put a lamp on it, and it hits the lamp instead. It chunks everyone down, kills the lamp, and then just swamp through. It's just like little niche things like that, different situations. Had there not been a lamp, I think you would have thrown that at the feet, and you do see a lot of Tracers throw pulse bombs lower than higher. But I think then, because he recognised that there was going to be a lamp coming in, he threw it higher to hit the lamp as well. To chunk everyone down, kill the lamp, and then you just finish them off. Anyway, O2 Blast has basically not been stopped at this point. They're just rolling through. Lee Su-min now has gone off the Kuriko onto the Zen. It's so much poke damage on Zen Baptiste, especially with the Sojourn and the Sigma. You just can't really heal through with the Kuriko, and Kuriko can't match the damage. Kuriko can't match Zen for damage. Because unlike Zen, Kuriko has to hit the headshots to get the maximum damage. You can't headshot a shield. So you'll always have more pressure with Zen Baptiste versus Kuriko Baptiste. Anyway, early lamp forced. Very smart positioning on the lamp by Caffeine. He throws it here, trying to get it stuck so the enemy team can't see it. It's still hidden. They do break... No, they don't break the lamp in time. Babel ults, I think, almost just to be safe. But I don't think they needed it. It keeps Max going, though. They can almost tempo it. Other disadvantage of Transcendence, by the way, versus Beat, since we were talking about it. Transcendence won't save you from being headshot by Sojourn with 84% or more charge. Same with the Widowmaker. Same with a lamp. Sorry, not a lamp. A window in front of it. Bat window plus Sojourn is unbelievable damage. I think you can headshot kill people at 64%. Possibly less. Maybe it's like the 50s. I don't remember exactly. It might be the 40s. It might be like 48. I think it's 64 for Anna or Mercy Boost. Anyway, as I said, SVG have used everything. O2 Blast used almost everything. However, they saved their overclock. There's no counter to it. Kathleen just diffs Ade. Ade has a really rough game for this. And I think they just put so much weight on his shoulders. Like, he was trying to, mirror Probe in the first 2 maps. Prophet is also very good at Sojourn, and I just don't think he just can't match either of their DPS. They might have even put him onto the Tracer just to try and see how he does with Heesang, and Heesang is just too good as well. Again, don't get me wrong, I don't think, Ade's a bad player. That would be stupid. It's just almost like a different level on top of it. It's the creme de la creme of, the Korea region. It's also harder to play, into a fight that you're losing, you're getting pushed back into. So if your team is also struggling, and I think, generally speaking, man for man, SPG are struggling into the O2 Blast team, it's always hard to play a DPS character when you're getting pushed back. You kind of have to do even a little bit more than just match them. Anyway, you do see this from time to time. Teams will try and go around to swimming pool to take that angle off, because it's really obnoxious to let the enemy team have the high ground. But the entire team from SPG goes up here. To you, his little fucking floating toes grip to the ledge like he's an eagle, and pulls him back on. If he dies there, they're in trouble, because SPG, the entire team has gone on this flank. The cart, by the way, the cart. So they're like, okay, we're going to push you not just off this high ground, which is the one I was talking about, this little window up here. If you're the offensive team and you can take this area, it's pretty nice. It just makes your... it makes you going around this corner so much safer than letting them up here. But it's pretty hard to hold there as a split approach, so... I'm okay with O2 Blast recognizing, 5 people coming at us, we're only 2 or 3. We've been given the F off, we'll leave. But rather than just taking this, SPG go whole hog. They're like, okay, Prophet, you can't even have that space. We're going to fight you there. And poor old Ade, Varapik, Tuyu, Sanguina, and I think Lee Sumin have all gone on the flank. Ade's just holding the cart. He's trying to contest it on his own. Yep, there's everyone else. Trying to get through this tiny little corridor into Sigma, which is never a fun thing to do. The cart, by the way, Ade gets killed by Heesang because, Ade right now is not just fighting against Heesang. He was also probably fighting the rest of the team. So it's all well and good SVG have denied, this high ground from the enemy team. Probably does get killed for it as well. The cart is still moving. The cart. The cart. The cart. Ade's back again contesting the cart on his own. Poor guy. Ade gets a kill still, which is honestly a miracle. And the cart. 3:45 left on this map. It's honestly the biggest booming of a lifetime. It's so hard to push the last part of this map. And they basically didn't stop. For a tiny bit on second, at the end of second, where all the ults got vomited onto the board, it slowed down for a bit while they respected the window. Other than that, the cart has almost not stopped moving, other than Ade, tapping its Tracer. And at this point, you're almost certainly going 3-0 down. Spoilers, they're going to go 3-0 down. We can't beat them on the mirror. We've tried to force, onto a second team with a different comp, and their booming is on this one as well. It must be so, demoralizing. It must just break the mental. Anyway, O2 Blast, this is more like what I was expecting them to come out on when they made these swaps. Heesang takes the Sojourn now as well, so we've seen Heesang playing the flanker, he's now playing the Sojourn instead. Which there's a third different Sojourn player on O2 Blast. But Prophet on Widow is disgusting. They're going to keep on the BAP Zen backline, lot of poke, and Max is kind of just going to, sit there with a shield, which is very helpful for Prophet. He can shoot through the shield, helpful for Heesang too, and your supports just for a little bit of safety. Also, he can just sit on the cart on his own and put his jazz hands out and stuff like that. It's pretty nice. Anyway, SPG basically just decide to mirror immediately. Varapik goes onto the Widowmaker, Ade back onto the Sojourn. He's like, haha, I've played against Prophet, and, well, he didn't even play against Prophet. He's played against Heesang on Tracer, I'll mirror him on Sojin and said I think he's going to try and fight Prophet on Sojin instead, but nope. So Prophet comes out on the Widow. And look at the defense now of O2 Blast. They're not playing in this little fucking weird room. They're like, okay, we're a long-range comp. We're just going to play a mile away from you. Like, they give them this first corner because they just want to poke you from a distance. You have to get through the gauntlet of headshots.
Which makes it all the more difficult for Verapik to play, with that swagger he kind of needs to have.
This is a really nice place to play as Sojin, by the way. I talked about on the Ilios map that you can, step back on high ground to hide yourself to be safe. If your support's on this right and you're on these stairs, you can just step to the left and you're safe. And you can just toggle like this tiny little area to shoot through. Very powerful. Immediately though, he's saying, he doesn't stay there for too long. He recognizes that people are pushing up the stairs and he backs off before they get there. Just different. Just built different. And now Prophet is going to just start tearing them apart as well. Nice from Verapik. If he hit that, he would have been godlike, but he doesn't. It doesn't really matter though, unfortunately. Widow does take a while to get back, and the spawn is definitely closer for the offenders. But again, O2 Blast can just give a bit more ground up. They can give this corner, and Widow will be on the high ground again, shooting you. I'd say this was another evolution throughout Overwatch, by the way. And I think it's a different play styles. And this is actually one where I think I differ, but I think I'm wrong. I talked about that they just gave this corner up. Like, they just didn't fight here. As you let the cart push more and more around here, sure, you don't get 2 fights anymore, so you lose your 2 fights. You're probably only going to have 1 fight before you lose it. However, the spawn isn't close for the attack anymore. Your spawn are basically equal for one another. Like, the defenders can get back as fast as the offenders, so trades aren't terrible. I think in like some early Overwatch, and you do see it on this map occasionally, but they don't really hold this corner, they hold this like area here. It's good to get multiple fights per point, because the more fights you can get per point, then, the more time you drain off the clock, and at the end of the day, the objective is to stop the team getting rejected and to drain the time. How do you do this? By getting kills. So I think it's been a bit of an evolution that teams will let other teams push, even though like they're not really eating time off the clock unless they're getting picks continuously. But they're changing like the macro landscape to favor themselves more. So rather than taking a fight which like maybe the 40% chance to win, they'll take a 2 bites of the cherry where like one maybe is 40% and then the other one is like 45. Because also when you lose this fight here, you lose the ult advantage typically. So the other team will get ults first, so they're more likely to beat you in the second fight. It's actually probably like 40 and then 35 if you lose the first fight immediately. Rather than taking that type of odds, they just take a 1-50-50 type thing. I mean, obviously it's not truly 50-50 because your neutral fight will depend on the mechanical skill and the positioning of your players, but that's kind of like the deal. Also, eventually, if you let the team push so far, if you keep killing them more and more and keep winning these fights, the cart will roll back on its own anyway, so you can still get the second fight here. When teams get like completely dumpstered, the kind of the reverse happens. Rather than this 40% fight where you lose, you win it instead, get the ult advantage, which means then you're holding close. Although they have better spawns, you have the ult advantage, and you can sort of like equalize that to some degree. That's where the close hold is pretty good. Normally then though, I think it's, and especially on this map, it's worth just holding right at the door instead. But anyway, as I said, O2 Blast are just happy giving them this area. They're still holding the place with a lot of space. Put a big whip from Heesang then. Probably should have killed Verapik. But like, he's just not being contested. He's just shooting them continuously from the side. Prophet kills him. Prophet kills him again. This is a window. I don't respect your window. I'm just going to jump through it. Click. We're just going to do a point and click simulation as Prophet. He'll just kill 4 people. That's fine. I'll take a look in your spawn. And now things are really bad. O2 Blaster said they're fucking Jiren from Dragon Ball Z. They're feeling it. They've flexed the muscles, their overwhelming power. And they just, they go back again. We got a little poke, we'll go back. We didn't play too dangerously, but we still made you think about it. Prophet just kills Varapik again, because why not? Another body shot there on the Sojourn. Goodbye. Just disgusting. And we're now at 1 minute left. Another body shot. Two Yours who died during this because got isolated on the high ground. The rest of the team murdered them. And they're just slowly dismantling the enemy team. And they're not really using ults for it. Sanguinar used a window during all of this. But they're about to get 4 ultimates. SPG, sorry, after, sorry, I was looking at the wrong team. They didn't even fucking use an ult at all. They used nothing. I tell the lies and the truth. Sanguinar used the window for the previous fight. Kathleen didn't use his. Prophet pops Vise into Varipik. So now SPG have to push into walls with 45 seconds left. Never fun. Admittedly, the other team have walls too, so they can both see where one another is, but it's basically the unstoppable object meets another unstoppable object. The objects actually stop. It turns out those objects stop. No, it's the very stoppable force meets another very stoppable force. They stop. Which is good, because that's more time off the clock. I know 2 Blast now are at the point where they can just slowly work the ults out. 2U tries to get an ult into Max. He's saved. They didn't even trank this. They save him with the lamp. That's how confident they are. Max uses his flux. He hits only one. I think it only hits Ade, who gets killed for it. Here's the window. Your trank ain't going to save you now if I headshot you. Goodbye. Point and click simulator time. Very nice. Overtime. And that's a 3-0. And you may have noticed from the video that there's not long left. It's a blowout. But we'll play this out. I'm just going to let this go a little bit faster now, I think, unless I see something particularly interesting. From what I remember, so O2 Blast goes back to the previous team, so does SPG. They go back to their default comps. And I think O2 Blast just run the normal. I pretty certainly don't come out on Ball. I think they come out on Winston. SVG are like, well, I think at this point they're just mentally boomed. We can't beat you on the Winston comp. We can't beat you on the Roadhog comp. We've tried some Ball comps, but Junbin's better than us on Ball, and you're probably better than us on the comp anyway. And if we go a Sigma comp, you are better than us as well. Get baited by the pause. Okay, here we go. So it's a mirror comp. Not a surprise. Most teams at this point, again, this is the difference between ladder versus competitive. Most teams fight over this fountain instead. It's the high ground on this point. Very powerful to control it. If you control it and you have a sniper, you can just shoot the enemy team from the high ground. The high ground is very strong. Therefore, they fight over it. A little bit defensive here from O2 Blast. SPG, they go on the offensive instead. I do like that they try to take the fight to them. But unfortunately, they've used everything. They've used their Suzu. I don't know if they've used their amp speed, but they all got chunked down coming in. And then there's just a counter dive immediately. Ade gets to pick on Babel, which is really good. As the commentator says, lick your wounds, you have the healing advantage now. Soft reset, get a heal, and then you'll win the fight. O2 Blast don't even fight it. They're like, alright, we're out. Well done. You bested us here. You took the tempo to us. You got the pick. Well done. Kriko back very quickly. Nice jump from the Winton character. Just puts a little bit of pressure on the healer. Just as a reminder as well, putting a bubble on Kriko isn't the absolute worst thing if you know she's TP'd as well, because one, you can kill her then. If she hasn't got a TP, she's a very diveable target. But also Suzu doesn't go through shield, so if you can shield someone off or her off, she has to TP to heal again. I think that's loosely what happens there. Junbin puts a bubble down in such a situation that he's forcing Lee Min to choose. Do you, break the shield, which is going to be a team effort. Do you TP to, heal people? Or do you not heal? Ade gets one over on Probe, very nice, but Probe did get a pick, so it's an equal fight. You'd probably want your Sojourn there over the Lucio. They go for a fight here. They want to keep this tiny little lead that they have. 2 gets get chunked down, but they get the Kuriko ult first. Why? Because Kuriko didn't get picked for them in the first fight. So they get an ult before Babel, they pop it immediately for tempo, and they win the fight. And it's looking good for SPG right now. Normally when you win the first fight in push, odds are you win the game. I don't know what it is at the competitive level. I seem to remember a stat from last season of Alpha when it was still 6v6. Sorry, the season before last, I guess now. That on control maps, the team that won the first fight in control was like a 60% chance to win the map overall. I think something similar was said for push. So the odds are in their favour now because O2 Blast have to use ults to push back beyond back to where the fight started with, whereas SPG can use that ults to, progress the objective. Anyway, in this fight, SPG beat O2 Blast with a Kuriko ult. It's kind of crazy, honestly. And they're kind of rolling. Just Top Dragon gets a nice little pick in the middle of it all. And things are looking fantastic. It's like, oh my god, the reverse sweep. Going to go to 3-1. They get the cap. So they get an advanced spawn now. Very nice. And more importantly, the bot sits here for a while when you cap. If they come back again in the future, it won't sit there again. They've had the sitting time now done. It's super important to get that cap. And as I said now, O2 Blast, we have an ult advantage. I say we, as if I'm part of O2 Blast. I don't really care. They're a very good team. But they have a little bit of an ult advantage. Death Blossom, trades. They get more advantage from Heesang. But they had to use their ults just to get the cart back to where it was before. And now they can start pushing, but they've used their ults to basically stay behind the enemy team. I'd probably say the slight bad thing SPG do here to kind of turn the map on its head. They pop 2 ultimates trying to fight this here. They honestly could have just let them have it once they invested the Death Blossom, because Heesang went first, I think. Just give them the fight. They've Death Blossomed, they chunked you down. You could come back with your own Death Blossom, Kuriko ult, a Primal. You're going to fight before they get to the checkpoint anyway. And then you can push it back quickly, all the way back to the checkpoint. And you'll be basically, ult neutrality again. And you have to take a neutral fight win. So they trade ults here, not great. But they're still on Kuriko ult, so it's not a terrible situation right now. Tempo the Kuriko ult. Win the fight. Don't let them have the torch. I think people just get chunked here, and O2 Blast calls a soft reset to everyone get healed back up again. 2U dies in here and doesn't really dive on anyone. It's kind of a bad play, I think, for 2U. I do like Winston taking the top of this cart. I do it myself as well to jump on top. Maybe bubble off the window again. He uses his bubble in the escape. He just kind of jumps up and gives them health. There goes the Kuriko ult anyway to push into it. This will be O2 Blast giving the fuck away. They're like, nope, see you later. They're just out of here. However, they got no picks on it. So they're going to be back very quickly. And you've lost your big ult. And now Babel's got his. I'm pretty certain this is what's it called? Not Total Mayhem. Is it called Total Mayhem Overwatch or whatever it is? There's going to be a fight in this little corridor. I've never seen a fight in here before, but it's pretty entertaining. Jumpin's just privaling in a closed space and gets absolutely obliterated by a Reaper. 2U is also doing the same thing into a Reaper. Just somehow he's staying alive by, miracles. He's still alive. He's still alive. He's still alive. I'll get the Mega. I've got 500 health again. And then eventually 2U dies when he comes back out. Babel doesn't use an ult here. How, compromised. Composed was the word I was going for. Were they there? Sangwon beated this as well. Ade used his ult as well. O2 Blast just stayed alive, and eventually they started getting picks. Probe just went disgusting. I think they tried to beat to save 2U, but they trade beat, they trade the Sojournaut, they got Primal Rage out of it. That's not worth it. And now the point's going to cap. The only advantage they have, as I said, is the bot has to sit here for a while, but the problem is they're pushing into the Kuriko, and they have to stay on the cart. They can't run away this time, unless they're going to surrender the lead. And it's like gold dust the lead in this game mode, especially when you get to like, you know, like the 60 to 100 meter mark. So SPG run to the cart now. They're tying at this point, so the game would end as a draw. You can draw this game mode. And they're like, we're going to stay on this bot if it costs us our life. And it's going to cost them their life. Here goes the Kuriko ultimate. Reaper's trying to stay on the cart, but he just can't anymore. So there goes the lead. Flips over. They get a little bit more progress. And what's even worse, they try to disengage, give them the lead. They get picked as well. It's like the worst case scenario. Kuriko ults Lee Soo-min. He goes for it. Double DPS ultimate to try and counter it. This just shows you how strong the Kuriko ult is, by the way. They Death Blossom plus overclocked. And they had to run away still from the Kuriko ult. It's so disgusting. Sanguinar is just fucking vibing at that point. What the fuck he was doing there, I don't know. I'm not even going to go back. I think this was just mental booming territory. 4 minutes left. They have to win probably like 2 or 3 fights at this point to get back to where they were. Probably more now because they've got headshot again. And this is where you feel good. This is where, you know, okay, the game is on to 2-1. We've demoralized them. We can start showboating a little bit. Again, they're just trying to get some shots here. Every so often just pinging for a shot to try and hold the 86 charge. Just disgusting. They try to aggress on Probe. Probe just slides away. Headshots you. You're dead. Back to the spawn you go. Junbin's like, nope, you're not going back to your spawn today. I am the bouncer. I'll just juggle the Lucio around. Ari does get a hit onto Heesang, but at this point, when you're giving 120 meters on this map, it's kind of just like, it's the end. At this level, they're probably in a territory now where they have to win 4 or 5 fights in a row. Probably 5 fights in a row to even get near to this. They're at an ult advantage right now. But there's only 3 minutes left. And you basically have to win every fight with 1 ultimate at a time. But that's a good start. Ade gets a nice little click headshot. Good luck to you, Bliss. Bliss just somehow squirrels around and gets away. He gave him his little happy feet impression and gets out. But again, O2 Blast, they're at a point now where all they need to do is save up for a huge ult overload. The onus is on SPG to use ults to win fights, and they'll eventually win this game. Probe gets a pick onto Lee Soo-min, and as I said, you have to win each fight with 1 ultimate at a time. Losing your Kuriko means you've lost most of your heals, you're going to lose the fight. And they have to just give it up again. So all that hero work that Ade just did has been undone. 1 pick undoes it. It's going to go all the way back now. This game mode, I know people complain about it. It's definitely the lesser of the evils from 2CP. Admittedly, I think in quick play 2CP should be re-added just for a bit more variety, but I think on competitive, I accept why, you know, this is a better game mode, but it can be demoralizing when you get into this situation that you can only win fights with like 1 or 2 ultimates. Mainly like, you're only winning fights with like 2 key ultimates, and you just push backwards and forwards. Anyway. That was Kuriko Death Blossom. Everyone lived through it. Get a Death Blossom at the end of it. Top Dragon just diffs him. Very nice. But Sanguinar dies after beat. Babel picked, so that's going to be another trade again. But it's just scrappy. 2 minutes have basically been burnt off the clock, and SPG have got nothing. They've used every single ultimate, barring they've got an overclock. O2 Blast use all their ultimates too, sure. But they're just making every meter scrappy right now. They're forcing them to use ults early. It's just O2 Blast are just setting the tempo right now. Babel picks Ade. it's honestly almost game over at that point. They have to Kiriko ultimate. It's just over at this point, so there's not really much to say about this anymore. They basically just go for a hero play. They don't want to let the bot push back. They try to use ults when they're at a play disadvantage to even up the fight, but it's not good enough. O2 Blast, far too experienced, far too good to be beaten by that. And O2 Blast, Ade's ulted, we're gonna run and hide. They come around the corner, where are they? It's like a horror movie, where are they? Surprise! Here comes the rush. I'll just TP behind you as Kiriko. I'll just play in the front lines Kiriko. Probe just does it again. Like, how many fights Probe just leads with a headshot? Here comes the overclock, Kiriko ult. That's all the damage in the game now. And the bot is just pushing. 18 seconds left, and that's game. O2 Blast win the Contenders series. There are other Contenders series going on, but I don't think any of the other ones are as good as the Korean Contenders. Maybe the NA one, because they do sometimes take a bit of Korean talent as well. And some of them have the L rosters, like the Substitute's got a 2-way contract. I don't know if they're... I think NA is still going on right now, so maybe it's worth checking out the NA Contenders if I was going to recommend anything. EU is also going on. I'm not sure if they're going to swap patches. The information about Contenders is so fucking sketchy. Like, Overwatch doesn't support it particularly well, to be completely honest with you. And that's an understatement. But anyway, this is one of the last major tournaments that you'll see with this Kiriko Sojourn meta. If some of the nerfs go through as being rumored, if Kiriko's ult gets nerfed, if Sojourn's potential damage output and one-shot potential gets nerfed, then there will be a rapid change in the meta. And it would not surprise me if Hog just disappears off the face of the earth. Unless he's particularly good into Ramattra. I've heard Ramattra is pretty goddamn strong, so we'll see how teams adapt to Ramattra entering the game and, what heroes will be improved by him. It's honestly the most fun time to play Overwatch. If you're going to play Overwatch, if you're playing on the free-to-play experience, go and play it when a new hero drops, because the game just goes up in the air, because new supports might work better with him, some might be worse, and that can, change the meta. If you get a really strong hero, the meta can change around them, and it can make heroes that were otherwise pretty poor in certain metas better now. Anyway, that'll do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, why don't you like and subscribe. If you want to see more of these, let me know in the comment below. I'll probably wait a little bit for the dust to settle on the next patch before I do anything else. Also, I don't know if anyone else is running the next patch fairly soon, so I don't know what the next competitive season is running it. Maybe Contenders are running it, I have no idea. Anyway, I'll check you out then. Goodbye.